Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. A very good pleasure to be with you all tonight as we bring in Jim Quirk here in a couple of minutes to talk about aliens, UFOs, ET abductions, and it's going to be a long, fun night of serious woo. Yeah. We also thank all of you for tuning us in tonight because that's what we love to do on this nightly show. And who do we have here? Well, let's take a look. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position, Eternity Eternal with a silver, Robert Lamoth with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Simon the Likeable and Trucker Andrew, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, Samantha Hazelwood Gray, and Brown Dwarf. Brown Dwarf will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on here, we have Dragonfly and Les Paul Holland strumming away on his Gibson's Les Paul. Imagine that. Resonate, how are you? Little Timmy James, what's going on? Hi, Laura Lobbs. T-Bone, my man, what's going on? All the way from Ornsköldsvik, Sweden. Wearing number 21 tonight, starting at left wing, Lars Johnson. Yeah, he's projected to have 42 goals and 85 assists this year. Yeah, projected. As for Met, how you doing? Millennium, my man. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Good to see you guys. Travis William Moostus. Good to have you here, my friend. Pam Harris. Mel WD40 is here. He is currently lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You do not want any rigidness whatsoever. It makes it very uncomfortable. All right? Very uncomfortable. So that's why we get lubed up every single night. Scrolling on down, Matt Carter, welcome to SOR Chat. Philip Backanuts is here. Philip Backanuts will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Operation Shutdown. Noble Patrick, nice to see you both here. Hi, Kurt M. Good morning to you. Commonwealth Andrew, you're up early. Lisa Smith, Kurt M. again, because I wanted to say it twice. Lightwalkers, thank you all for coming on in. Hi, Rose Demaray, Eli McGinnis, good to have you back. Nikki in Seattle, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Marty Burback. And who's next? Carol Amerio, welcome to SOR Chat. How are you? Michael Fontaine and West Decker, Area 53, with a great super chat tonight. Thank you so much for the love and support, West Area 53. We appreciate you and your love of SOR. Thank you very, very much. J Truth Seeker, what's happening? Lee the Bee, how you doing? Richard Hauser, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call here tonight, who's next on our list? Well, let's take a little peek here. It's Jeff Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. And, yep, that's right, Mel WD40. Very smooth. Very, very smooth. Jazz Ramblings and Richard Minnick. Good to have you both here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hi, Mike Rivers and Renee Cruz. Good to see you both. Fapster, what's happening? And Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We have Human Carl here, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. because we don't want human Carl to be blamed for alien Carl's abductions. So don't mix them up. He doesn't like that. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as we continue on with our great show tonight, talking about aliens and UFOs. Jim Quirk is here to be talking with us, and I'm excited about this one. Really, really am excited about this one as we continue on with our roll call here. And I apologize for my voice. My throat is not 100%. So we're going to battle through this once again. We'll make it. I promise you. And if I start coughing, well, yeah, that's live radio. It happens. It happens. So continuing on, want to remind everybody, if you're in our YouTube channel, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff in public and be proud of it. Do me a favor. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Jim Quirk is here. He's the host of Extraterrestrial Reality, a great podcast you can find on YouTube and Spotify. And then in hour 3, Swamp Dweller brings us another spooky story. Jackie Harmon, or if we went with the French version, Jacques Armon, is going to be here with the cryptid report to finish off the night. Jim Quirk is the creator and host of the Extraterrestrial Reality, a podcast which can be found on QUIRK Zone on YouTube and on UFO Extraterrestrial Reality on Spotify. Jim's interest in UFOs and aliens was spurred by an encounter he had with what he believes was an extraterrestrial being that appeared in his bedroom when he was almost 9 years old, way back in 1977 in Mahanoy Plane, Pennsylvania, and a close-up sighting of a UFO in 1994 while night fishing with a friend near Hazleton, Penn. Jim is also a former newspaper reporter who covered local government and newspapers in Iowa, Hawaii, and Pennsylvania for a period of 14 years, 96 through 2000. And Jim, there's one thing I love about this show, and that is when I get to talk to not only experiencers, but fellow real journalists as well. Not these people who self-title themselves in our field, who can't name a beat that they've ever worked, but they just want to self-title themselves as a journalist for more credibility. So I'm very happy to have you here, my fellow journalist friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks a lot for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. I could feel it. A lot to talk about. A lot to talk about.
I want to get your opinion on the journalism thing here, because you've been in this field a while, just like I have. And when you see people out there getting television shows, documentaries, getting radio breaks and podcast breaks, and you already know they've lied on their resume about being a journalist. how come it's okay in our field for people to lie about their resumes, but you don't see them doing that to get other jobs or to get other sort of credibility by actually working hard?
Well, I mean, I can't. If somebody's able to do that, I guess more power to them. I wouldn't. I'm not the kind of person that would do something like that. But I started as a reporter. I went to college. I only went for a year. I was an English major, and when I became a reporter, it was like a slow process climbing up a ladder. I started off as a freelancer. I actually had written a screenplay for a movie, and I was taking it to the post office every day, sending it out. And the post office lady told this other lady, and then she said, maybe you should start writing for newspapers, and that's how it started. And I, started off as a freelancer, worked like that for a few years, and they hired me full time. Then I put me on the top beat, and I was, traveled all over the world. But it was a long process. But I mean, some people like you're talking about that don't have these kind of credentials, don't have the background, and all of a sudden they consider themselves journalists. Yeah, I guess it's it bugs you a little bit.
Oh, it just picks me, man. I actually have a list of what I call fake journalists that will never appear on this show.
You gonna share that list?
Oh, not publicly. I won't do it publicly because I don't believe in calling people out by name, because I try and be a little bit more respectful, not for them, but for the community that we try and support, and that we try to deliver not only great stories, but information and news as well, right? So it's just one of those things. But I just love talking with journalists, man. I do. There's just something about the way this is covered. How do you think the UFO story's been covered to this day on a professional level, watching what major outlets have been doing and the way that it's been covered via social media?
Well, I think it started off very promising in 2017 with the New York Times article, but I think there's a lot of publications out there that are doing a semi decent job right now. But I think that they give too much credence to a lot of the debunkers. For some reason, you see a lot of you'll see like, even on TV channels, news channels, where they'll have they'll bring Mick West on to provide a comment, and where he really has, I mean, he doesn't really provide any he doesn't have he doesn't believe in it he starts from a place where he doesn't believe in it at all, doesn't give it any credence whatsoever. But seems like he's considered an expert for some reason, where there's other people who are experts, like Richard Dolan, for instance. Why isn't he brought on TV a lot more often? Or why isn't he called up by some of these newspapers when they're doing articles? Like, you don't see a lot of the people who have really been researching this for decades, like Richard Dolan, or some of the people like who investigated Roswell, for instance, like Donald Schmidt, Thomas Carey, Kevin Randall. They're not brought on as much, but you hear debunkers are brought on like they're experts in something, where they're just there to present a false narrative. And it seems like the mainstream media, they just take it as far as I can see, they're not taking it seriously enough yet. I don't think they're still not taking it seriously enough. It was nice to see, for instance, Lou Elizondo just on CBS Morning Show recently talking about his new book, Imminent. It was like, wow, I can't believe this is on CBS. But that was nice to see. But they're making some steps. They're taking steps. I think we're going to get there eventually. The evidence is there, as far as I'm concerned. I've been talking about it on my show for a while now, and you keep having more people whistleblowers stepping up. Like last year, David Grush. They seem like they took that seriously, even though newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post turned that article down, and I think it was picked up by was it the debrief? I can't remember which one it was.
The debrief, yes.
So it was in the debrief, So still, that's still a respectable publication, and it was nice to see that. But still, they're not doing it. I still think that they're not taking it seriously enough. They took a major step in 2017, and then it seemed like they pulled back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very much interested in seeing how the media plays this out, because this story is like a thorn in the side. You just can't pull it out. And, eventually these media outlets, despite the ego of news directors and editors, which all about and I know all about, and I want to remind people, it's not the CIA or the NSA that has people monitoring newsrooms saying this is what you can and cannot run. That's not how it works. The truth of the matter is, the reason why these stories don't get out mainstream for the most part is you have editors and news directors who are so egocentric in those positions that they refuse to cover anything that they don't like. And that's the truth of it. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, I do agree with that. I remember, it's interesting. Like when I worked at local newspapers, I worked at two different newspapers here in Pennsylvania. Then I worked at a newspaper in Burlington, Iowa for 5.5 years, and then after that, I worked at a newspaper on the Big Island for over 2 years in Hawaii, and then I came back to Pennsylvania and I worked at another covering the state legislature for a while. But when I was at the newspapers. Except for the Hawaii one. I guess I wasn't there long enough, but I was only there for a little over 2 years. But the first one in Pennsylvania, I actually I was able to write some articles about UFOs and Bigfoot, even though I was writing mostly about local government, covering councils and things like that, county supervisors. And then, of course, when I was in Iowa, I wrote articles about UFOs, and I actually wrote an opinion piece one time about that. This was back in 2002, where I was making a statement that I think the people who don't believe in this are crazy, and it was a fight actually to get those articles in the paper with the publisher and the editor, the managing editor. I had to really fight to get these articles in. I did it when I was in Pennsylvania, for instance. The reason I had an easy time getting some articles in there back in 1997 because it was the 50th anniversary of Roswell. So I did some articles on that, and plus some local UFO stories. And so, but they really wanted me just to be covering the local government stuff. But if I would try to squeeze in things that I was interested in, things that I thought were important, and they a lot of times it seemed like they would bend to it, but it took work. It took work to get the local newspapers to bend to it. But now I think that you're talking about more on the national scale. Some of the bigger publications, I guess there's still a stigma. Like some of them are concerned about the stigma. That could be it. And what the establishment wants, I don't think they want this disclosure if it to be a slow rolling thing. They don't want something to be too big, and maybe that's part of it. And who knows what they're thinking at the top? I'm not sure. Maybe some of them actually know, and they're playing ball with the Pentagon. I don't know.
Have you been following the Lou Elizondo story quite closely?
Yes. In fact, I'm still in the process of. I'm halfway through his book. I've been reading it since last week. I'm really enjoying it, actually.
You know what? I am too. And criticism aside, or the people who look at him as a deity aside, trying to call it down the middle, I think it's a great book. What do you think of the criticism that Elizondo has been going through, because people are nitpicking every single word that he has, thinking that he was going to give up the goods on aliens, thinking that he was going to give up the goods on who is the ones behind the scenes that are calling the shots, which he did name some names, but he didn't go in depth. And I'm trying to explain to people that this is an autobiography of his story. He's not going to drop names. He can't do to NDA. Are you looking at this book the same way, or are you looking at it as maybe he could have given a little bit more?
No, I'm looking at it the way you say the choice one, because I mean, if something's top secret, right, and if he divulges something, I mean, he could get in trouble. I mean, I could understand the position he's in. There's certain things. I mean, he's telling us a lot. I mean, the thing that drives me nuts is that people forget, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in this position right now. I mean, if it wasn't for him coming out of the shadows back in 2017 and that New York Times article, Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Kean, if it wasn't for all of that, then we wouldn't be here right now. I mean, if it wasn't for him and Christopher Mellon, and I mean, things were different before 2017. I mean, I don't know if you ever, I remember how it used to be. It was a big joke. It doesn't seem like a big joke anymore ever since Lou Elizondo came out. This guy has had a gigantic impact on this whole subject. So I don't like the criticism against them. And the Stephen Greenstreets of the world out there, constantly calling him a liar, this, that. They're trying to find different things to pick on him about, and he, for the most part, is, just I'm not even going to comment on it. He won't even comment, and I don't blame him. I mean, just let them spout their nonsense, and because I think if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. So I think this the things that people say against him, I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's they're just playing along with the Pentagon's games, or they're part of the cover up themselves. I don't know, but to me, it's unwarranted.
Prior to 2017, and you'll remember this because we're old agers at this now. You know, we're the boomers of this now. And prior to 2017, the big argument was, and I remember Richard Dolan saying this, Grant Cameron saying this, Stephen Bassett, Victor Vigiani, all of these old school ufologists saying, if we could have just one guy from the inside, one person from the inside, come on out and tell us what's going on at the Pentagon, we'll blow this story wide open. And then To the Stars happens. Elizondo comes out. We get our one guy. To the Stars screws up and doesn't allow any media outlet to interview these guys except people who are, giving them the under the table nudge saying, hey, look how good I am to you guys. And I talked to Lou about that. And I remember in my conversation with Lou, my first conversation, I said, Lou, do you know I put in 15 different requests to the Stars Academy to interview you? He goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. And Carrie DeLong, whatever her name is, Tom's sister, did the PR for TTSA, did not pass one of them to him.
Wow.
Not one. And so when Lou did his first real tour around, he was very disappointed to learn, because I said that to him. John Greenwald from the Black Vault also had the same thing happen to him, and many others. Many others. And so when he did the tour, he was actually very apologetic about it, in basically saying, you know what, I owe you. I feel like I owe you one now. And we were lucky enough to get him on 3 times over that time. We didn't abuse it or anything. But I look at him now, and whether you believe him 100%, 50%, or 1%, I look at it like we begged for that one guy, Jim, to come out. And when you take Elizondo coming out, and then the popularity taking off of podcasting, YouTubing, Twitch, Rumble, whatever it may be, X Spaces now, everybody gets on there and wants to do their own show and do their own thing and give their own commentary and opinion, which is great. That's what freedom is all about. But I don't think it's helped the cause for a lot of what we're trying to get out, because it's allowed a lot of animosity to come out as well. Just your overall thoughts on that.
Well, I'm trying to understand you. So you're saying that you believe that the animosity against who? I mean, what do you mean?
Against Elizondo. Like, there's a lot of people who've come out, and there's literally every day there's articles and posts and YouTube videos about he's lying about this, lying about that.
Oh yeah. I see. I'm tired of reading. I think Lou's done a pretty good job, though. Actually, I mean, he seems like from my point of view, it seems like he's taken the high road on this. He's responded sometimes, and see, it seems the problem is like in the past we would respond sometimes. It would seem like he would even get more flack, and it's actually seems like to be a mistake. And so now a lot of times he'll just, I think he lets some things slide off his back, and I think he's in a position where it's probably better to do that, because some of these people, I mean, they're obviously they're jealous, or they're just dishonest, or they're disingenuous. That are the people, the critics of them. There's a lot of people actually within the UFO community itself. I get comments from all when I talk about Lou Elizondo or his book. I'll always see a comment in the video saying, "Oh, Lou's a liar, Lou's this, Lou's that." I just, why? Where is this coming from? I don't understand it. It just, to me, it just seems like bile. It's just, so for all we know, it could be just debunkers in sheep's clothing. I who are these internet randos anyway? And then on top of it, you have the debunkers themselves, the Stephen Greenstreets of the world. He's probably the worst one, who writes about it all the time. It's just disingenuous to me, the whole thing. Like this, It's just they laugh at it. They make fun of this whole situation and call them liars. I know that there's been some friction between Lou and John Greenwald at times. I think that I don't think Lou appreciated some of the tone that Greenwald presents sometimes, and it does seem to me that at some points Greenwald was actually siding more with the bunkers. It seems to me sometimes, like with Mick West or Stephen Greenstreet. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe there is some animosity, but I guess the best thing to do is just, hey, just keep trying to deliver your message. Don't worry about the noise. Just look at it as noise, and don't even worry about what they're saying. There's a lot of people out there who are fans of Lou Elizondo and are very appreciative of what he's been doing and what he's done to this point. I have no complaints about Lou.
Do you think the book moved the ball towards disclosure closer, or do you think it's still exactly where it should be?
I think everything. I think everything like that happens, like when Grush stepped out, that moves the ball closer. Imminent that now that's out. That we just keep moving closer to disclose. They're going to have to disclose at some point here, because there's evidence out there now that's indisputable at this point. As I've been talking about a lot on my show, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But it's at this point it's going to be untenable for the gatekeepers, whoever they are, this secret control group, which is composed apparently by mostly members of the defense contracting community. They seem to be the ones pulling the strings here, and there must be some portion of the Pentagon that's involved with that too. But it's becoming untenable now, because there's evidence out there that's floating around. It makes it impossible to debunk. And then when you have books like Imminent coming out, you have whistleblowers and not just David Grush, there's other ones we don't even know about yet. There's multiple other people, and they're talking. You still have people in Congress, and that's the other thing too. The people are those people in Congress, like Chuck Schumer, Tim Burchett, all these people, this bipartisan group that's pushing this stuff, pushing UAP Disclosure Act, for instance, and now they're pushing it again. It got gutted last year, but now they're planning on trying to include it in the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025. Those people have to know something. They're not going to make fools out of themselves and end up with egg on their face over something like this. They must have learned some things that the public doesn't know about, that they learned about in skiffs. So they wouldn't be pushing forward with this if they didn't believe it. So they're not going to make fools out of themselves just because somebody is one or two people are talking to them. No, there's multiple people that are talking to them, and there's things that they know, or they wouldn't be doing this. So yeah, I think yes, we're moving towards something. And now, especially the fact that you have that UAP Disclosure Act going, they're pushing that again. And I think we're moving definitely toward disclosure. I think 2025 actually could be it, should be it. I don't think we're going to see anything this year because of the presidential election. That's going to have to all hash itself out. I what are you going to do? But that's, Richard Dolan, that's what he believes. And I actually believe that too. I don't think we're going to see anything this year, but I think next year, 2025, they're going to have to do something, some kind of an announcement. Something's going to have to be made. We're going to have to take another step. We need to get the public needs to be brought across the red line.
I agree with you on almost everything that you said, and I thought that was very eloquent the way you put it. Where I tend to differ is I don't believe that disclosure is disclosure. I don't believe a controlled disclosure is what we want or what we need. And I think we're more in a confirmation movement, because they don't want to give up what happened at Roswell. They don't want to give up any secrets whatsoever. They've already announced that we're done talking about this. And it's the pesky Congress people like Tim Burchett, or senators like Gallaudet, or anybody along those lines, who are sitting here being thorns in the old crew's side on this. And I've never used the term thorns in the side twice in one show here. So this is a special moment, Jim, but I wonder, as we get ready to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, I wonder if this is all part of the plan to get through this election, see who's going to be leading. Do they trust who's leading to actually tell the story of what's going on? Because the narrative right now is stronger than the disclosure movement, in my opinion. We'll get your opinion on that and some UFO stories coming up here on Spaced Out Radio. Our guest tonight, podcast host Jim Quirk, his show, and I recommend you go get it and hit subscribe, is Extraterrestrial Reality. It's a podcast on Spotify, and his YouTube channel, QUIRK Zone. Make sure you hit subscribe there. This is Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back after this break, everybody. That was a good start, man. Good start.
Am I on mute?
No, I've unmuted you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so just a reminder, our YouTube audience and our podcast audience can hear you and I right now. So whatever we chat about, like Kira's birthday and all that kind of stuff. By the way, Kira, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kira. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Kira is one of my longtime supporters. She helps my team behind the scenes. The lady is an absolute gem of a human being. I love her so much.
Well, happy birthday, Kira.
There you go. So, enjoying it so far?
I'm enjoying it. This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. I mean, I think, earlier this year, I mean, I've been talking, and I'll bring it up, as we go on, but, earlier this year, when I've been working with this crime scene reconstruction expert, Scott Roeder, and he looked at that Las Vegas video and he made a determination that that's real and that there's alien beings in there. And there's been actually further evidence now. There's been more evidence to emerge out of that. And I don't think it cannot be disputed. It can't. Debunkers are staying away from it. They won't even try to debunk it because they know they can't. I actually sent the letter to the Pentagon on June 11th. They never responded. I laid it all out for them with pictures and links to videos to show them, and they won't respond. And I didn't expect them to respond. I don't know what else they could say. And I think as time goes on, what's going to happen is, more and more people in the world are going to see this, and they're going to realize that it's real. I mean, there was people I knew that are in my family that didn't believe this before, and now they do. I mean, there's a lot of people who are skeptics who saw this, and now they know.
Yeah, the Las Vegas one is still a tough pill for me to swallow. I've seen the video, like Rob G, my after hours host on the weekends, and my fill-in host. He is firm that this is an ET presence. I don't know whether it's my eyes are bad or my screen is bad or whatever. I'm just not seeing it. And I'm not saying it isn't true, even though I've been on record saying I don't believe it. I just don't see what you guys are seeing. And that's okay. That's quite okay. I mean, we're allowed to have differing opinions on that. But I do want to talk about that with you when we come back, because maybe not right now, but during this show while we have you on, I do want to get into the Vegas alien situation here, because I'm very curious to see what you have on that. And I'm sure you'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the video imagery. It's not just the images that you see in the video either. It's the totality of all of the evidence. It makes it undeniable. I mean, and actually, more recently, there was another discovery in that video in the last couple of months that I've been talking about. I recently called it the backbreaker, because as far as anyone should be concerned, I mean, if you weren't convinced before, then this should convince you. I mean, there was not only were these two tall aliens there, but there was this little gray alien, just like as described by many people who have been abducted over the years. And I actually did an AI. I actually had an AI program that looked at this, and it did a facial recognition on it, and it sees it too, and it made its own cartoon version of it. And I did a video on that just in recent weeks. So it's undeniable, and that's why I think that you won't see a lot of people commenting on it. There was one debunker who tried, and he didn't really offer any sort of technical opposition. He couldn't. All he could do was call me crazy and stupid. That was about the best he could do. but he couldn't present any sort of scientific opposition to it, to the analysis that was done by Scott Roeder. And so they'll stay away from it. I think that a lot of people, actually some debunkers, I have a feeling that they know, and that's why they won't comment on it, because they can't. They know that there's something there.
All right, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we're about to come back here in about 30 seconds or so. And we want to say big thank you tonight to W. Decker, Area 53, T-Bone, and Dutch Hank for the great super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. If you're new here, hello, welcome. And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell, because we are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff in public and be proud of it. Rich Buddy, how you doing? Welcome to the chat room tonight. Hi, Digger Dog. Nice to see you. And here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Jim Quirk is here from the podcast Extraterrestrial Reality and the YouTube channel QUIRK Zone, which we highly expect you, all of you, every single one of you, to go find him, hit subscribe, hit the follow button, because that's important for creators like him and like myself on social media these days. Jim, welcome back to the show. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Dave. Yes, I am.
You got some aliens yourself.
Yeah.
Started at 7 or 8 years old?
I was almost 9. I was about a month away from turning 9. It was back in 1977. And it was, I didn't know. It took me about 10 years, at least 10 years, till I realized what it was. I thought it was either a demon from hell or Satan himself. I had no idea what was going on. And what basically happened was, at the time I grew up in this little town called Mahanoy Plane. And there was 5 kids, and plus my mom and dad. So there was 7 of us in this small house, and my brother Davey and I shared the attic, and he had the one side of the attic and I had the other side. The staircase separated the center of it. And the one night, it was in August, I believe, 1977. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and we used to sleep with the light on sometimes. And that night we had the light on. It was basically a big bright light right on the top of the steps. So the whole room was lit up. And I woke up in the middle of the night with the blanket over my head, like I usually do. I like sleeping with a blanket over my head. It was a thin blue blanket. And I could hear this electronic humming sound. It was really loud, like bees or like a transformer or something, right? It was something I never heard before or since, but it was just this consistent, like, right? What the hell's going on? And meanwhile, I could see through the blanket. I could see there was something standing by the bed, and it had a hand with only 3 digits on it. The digits were thick toward the bottom, and they came to almost points at the tips. And the hand, I could see it was getting right close to my face, and then far away. It just kept on moving its hand close to my face and then back away. It was like a ritualistically, right? I'm like, well, who's there? I thought maybe somebody was playing a joke on me. I was scared. I was afraid to pull the blanket down because I didn't know what was going on. And I could see like this figure standing there, but really I could see this arm with only 3 digits on it, with 3 fingers on it, getting close to my face and further away. And I'm, this thing's not answering me. There's this humming sound, and I didn't know what it was. And then I was afraid to look at it because I'm thinking it's something from hell. I didn't know what it was. And I peeked out of the blanket in the other direction, and I could see my brother Davey on the other side of the room, and he was sleeping, and he was facing toward me. and he was sound asleep, and I started screaming in his direction, and he wouldn't wake up. And plus the humming sound was somewhat muffling my voice. And then I was really terrified, and I started screaming for my mom and dad, and they were in the bedroom right below us, right? Nobody came. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Nobody's coming. Plus there was this humming sound, and this the whole time, right? There's this hand, right above my head. And, at the time, I was an altar boy. I was an altar boy from when I was in second grade all the way through 12th grade in the Catholic church right across the street from where I grew up. And so I didn't know what else to think. I mean, in my mind, there's a demon or Satan himself is for some reason has showed up in my bedroom in the middle of the night. And I'm laying here for like 20 minutes, screaming for help. Nobody's coming for me. Then it got to the point where I just start saying my prayers. I close my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm saying my prayers. I'll open my eyes again. The thing's still there. The humming sound's still there. It doesn't go away. So this whole event's lasting for like 20 minutes, right? And I'm scared beyond belief. I mean, I am so scared. And I was more scared, I think, at that moment in life, in time, than I ever was before. And then somehow I just conked out, right? And then time passes, and I wake up the next day, and nobody, my brother's already up and gone. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning or something. And there's nothing there in the room. I'm looking around, right? And I don't know what happened. Like, what happened? I know I was awake. This was not a dream. This wasn't like, having a nightmare and then waking up. This was like something's going on. 20 minutes goes by. You're screaming for people to help you. Nobody shows up. And then somehow you just pass out. So I went down. I start telling my mom this. I remember this was like the most memorable part of the next day was this, like running around the house for an hour and a half, 2 hours, going to my mom, I'm telling you, there was something in the room. I'm explaining this to her, and then she just wouldn't believe me. Oh, it was a dream. Oh, it was a dream. I'm telling you, Mom, it wasn't a dream. I'm going on, and then it finally just hit me. Like I remember, I'm like in my 9-year-old brain. It's like, I'm just a kid. Nobody's ever gonna believe me. Nobody's ever gonna believe me, right? And then I remember, that moment, I'll never forget that, realizing that no one's ever gonna believe this story. And I know I wasn't dreaming. I know I was wide awake. And then my dad got home. He was a construction worker. He got home from work. I went running out, even though in the back of my head, I knew he was probably going to say the same thing. And he did. I told him what happened, and he said the same thing. And, it was a dream. Don't worry about it, this and that, but I had to deal with this, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, I had no idea at that time. Like, I saw movies with aliens in it back then, all those movies from the 50s, like Earth versus the Flying Saucers and the War of the Worlds and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, all that stuff. And I thought all of that stuff was just Hollywood concoctions. I never believed that aliens were real. I didn't believe in that. I just didn't believe. I didn't know. Things back then people don't realize today how different things back then were. It wasn't like there was the internet, or you only had like 12 channels on the TV. I mean, there was, there wasn't stuff out there where you could try to figure this out back then. So time went on, years went on. And I remember sometimes trying to convince myself that, maybe it was a dream, but part of my brain saying, you're just lying to yourself. You were wide awake. Right. And I didn't know what to think. For years, at least 10 years went by. And I just, I had it in my head that maybe the devil was in my room that night for some reason. I couldn't figure it out. And then
sorry for interrupting you. Was the creature just standing there? Did it move? Did it move towards you? Did it say anything telepathically?
No, nothing. All the sound that was going on. Okay, there was this electronic humming sound, and I can't even describe it. It was something I've never heard before. It was something like bees or a transformer or something, but it sounded unnatural. I can't even describe it. I don't know if maybe that's what it was. I have no idea. But I looking back at it now, I think that maybe what it was doing was trying to calm me down and put me out. I don't know. I have no clue what was going on. I think looking back at it now, I think I wasn't supposed to wake up. I wasn't supposed to ever become conscious during what was ever happening there, but I did for some reason. And I was scared enough that I could not look. I did not want to look at its face. And I was too afraid because I knew I could see. So I could see the blanket was thin enough that I could see its arm. Right. And I could see its hand, and those fingers. I mean, that looked like something that you would think is demonic, right? Like a hand like that. So I didn't want to see its face. I thought I was going to be, scared to death. I think that's probably what it was. And it wasn't until years later. It was probably like at least 10 years, probably the late 80s, maybe 89, 88, 89, 90. somewhere around there. I don't even remember. I know it was a while, but I remember seeing a show on TV about alien abduction, and I at first I didn't connect the dots. So then it took me a little bit of time, and I start realizing that's what it was. That's what it had to be, you know. And at this point now, I could look back and yeah, that's what it was. What else was it? Because the other thing is you hear a lot of stories where people hear the flying saucers, like even at the aerial school incident, for instance, all those kids who one of the things that really scared them was the sound of this buzzing sound, or like they said they described the same thing, like sounds like bees. I'm wondering, because we were in the attic, was that flying saucer? Was there a flying saucer or some sort of craft just hovering right above the house, and they came in somehow? I mean, that's what I'm thinking now. I don't know, but that's when I started getting interested, after I realized what that was all those years later, right? That it wasn't the devil or Satan, or because I couldn't even understand that part. I mean, I was an altar boy. I was a good kid. I was like, why would this be happening to me? I'm in church. I serve in mass every weekend here, and but then I realized all those years later that it had to be an alien. There's no other explanation for it. I mean, I know it was real. I can't prove it, but I know it was real. And somehow I think, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs for everyone in that house, all, my mom and dad, my brother, they were conked out somehow. They were under some sort of influence. I mean, how could they have not waken up when I'm screaming in absolute abject terror and they're not waking up? So that's when all those years later, I realized what it was, what it had to be. And I'm convinced now that's what it was, based on all the literature, all the other people, different encounters that people have had. There have been creatures that have been reported that only have 3 digits on their hands. So I think that's what it was now. And that caused me to, become interested in it. And then I actually had another encounter 17 years later, I guess. So 77, and in 1994, something else happened. But this time I had a witness. And this was what happened was my good friend Scott, who he calls me up one day. He said, hey, I got permission to go fishing at this place called Beach Mountain Lakes. It's near Hazleton, Pennsylvania. And this was a private community. And, it was a gated community, situated, all these nice houses situated around in the woods around this big lake. But he wanted to go fishing. His mom knew somebody there or something like that. And that's how he got permission to go in there. And he did not want to fish at the lake. He wanted to fish at this pond that was off the lake. And I was like, yeah, all right. So we're going to go night fishing, So actually he picked me up, or I'd met him somewhere. I can't remember. I know he picked me up that day in the pickup truck. And, we drove to actually that was the first time. That day was the first day I was ever in a Walmart, because we went to Walmart to pick up some snacks and some bait. And so we went to Walmart in Hazleton, and then we drove to this place, Beach Mountain Lakes, which is outside of Hazleton, north of it. So we got there. There was a security guard that was there. He had to take his name and everything, let us in. And then we drove through all these curvy roads, and we got on some dirt road that led to this pond. And we got there, it was dusk, maybe 6:30 at night, something like that. And it was a hot night. It was really muggy, I remember. And we were fishing. I remember we were fishing for hours, just talking. And it was, we weren't catching anything. I mean, had nothing happened this night, I would have totally forgot about this night, because it was totally boring and nothing was going on. He's more of a professional fisherman, Scott. And I'm just, someone who just likes to, sit there and just let it sit there for a while and just enjoy nature, But he's doing everything he can to try to catch something. He couldn't catch anything. I didn't get one bite the whole night. And, after a few hours, it's pitch dark. We're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of these woods, right? And behind us, there was a pond here. And then behind us, it was like a field with some tall grass. And then on the perimeter, there were these woods. I turned around to the tackle box to get a cigarette out of the tackle box. And I turned around, I saw behind the trees at the edge of this field, this small field, I saw these 3 giant lights. Like they looked like headlights, except they were gigantic, right? And they're lined up horizontally, and they were moving behind the trees. And then they moved into this clearing, and there was no sound or whatsoever. It moved into this clearing and started moving towards us. And I said to Scott, I said, Scott, what the hell is that? And he's there. And I'll never forget the way he said, he's there, I don't know. The no was elevated, right? Because there's this thing, it's only 2.5 stories off the ground. It's as big as a house and it's floating right toward us. And then it stops in midair. I'm standing in front of it. There's these 3 lights shining right toward me. And my friend Scott's like, he's like standing just under the edge of this thing, and he grabs a flashlight out of the back of the pickup truck and he shines the flashlight on the bottom of this thing, right? And I'm standing there looking at this. I said, Scott, we got to get out of here. I thought this thing was going to land, right? Because by this point, I was already had developed an interest in UFOs, and I started studying it. And I'm thinking about the Allagash 4 and everything. I'm thinking about we're about to get dragged into this spaceship and and who knows what's going to happen, So right when I said that, I said, we got to get out of here. So we start throwing, he immediately, yeah. And we start throwing the stuff in the back of the pickup truck. And then meanwhile, this object starts moving away from us in a different direction, backward, right? The lights were always facing toward me. And it started moving backward over these trees again. So we're throwing everything in the back of this pickup truck and we're driving out of there. And I can still see the thing floating away. And it was unbelievable. Now, Scott, I didn't see the shape of it because the lights were in front of me. He saw the shape of it because he was in a different position, and it was circular. It was like saucer shaped. And another thing that I noticed was that it was unbelievably close to trees, right? Unbelievably close to the tops of trees. This thing was floating. There's no way someone operating a human-made craft would ever fly that close to trees. And my friend Scott said he actually noticed some of the tops of the tree branches were bending down, like some kind of a force was pushing down on them. So this thing's moving away. And so we're in the truck. We're both shocked, and he's driving like crazy down this dirt road, and we had to stop because there was like at least 20 deer running away from the direction that thing just flew, right? We had to wait for them to cross the road. We're stopped in the middle of this dark woods, and these deer are like running right in front of us. And so then he finally drives out of there, and we're not even talking. We're both in shock, and we drive into Hazleton, and we stop at a donut shop. I think it was Dunkin' Donuts. And he's getting a coffee, and I'm sitting there at the table, like, I'm nervous, Rick. And I said, Scott, I said, that was a UFO. And the first thing he said was, I'm not telling anybody. I'm not saying anything. That was his first response because, he was worried about the stigma. But there was no doubt. This thing made absolutely no sound, nothing, no sound at all. How could anything that big as a house, be just floating around, 2.5 stories off the ground, flying that close to trees? What else could it have been? There's no way why, if it was some sort of a top secret government contraption, what would they be doing in the middle of Hazleton or Beach Mountain Lakes for testing their stuff? There's just no way. It had to be extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I think it's extraterrestrial. That's just my opinion. Doesn't make me right.
Getting back to the alien, because I just want to know one thing about this. Was that the only time you saw it? Was that the only time you had an encounter like that, dream state or not, after?
Well, that was the only time that I encountered that alien, was that night, was that one time when I was a kid. I don't know what else it could have been. There's no other explanation for it. Like I said, it was that lasted for 20 minutes, that whole incident. I'm laying there scared, knowing that I could see that there was like something short, it wasn't big, whatever it was. There was something standing there, you could make out the silhouette somewhat, but I could see its arm clearly, and it was not a human arm. And, so I could see it through this blanket, but yeah, that was the only time I ever had an experience when I encountered an extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence.
And the UFO that you guys saw, did it at any time? That's a real close encounter, man.
Oh.
At any time, did it feel like it was following you or mimicking you guys or trying to communicate?
I didn't know. What happened was, this is something. At first, I was in somewhat awe, right? Because when I saw Scott shining that flashlight, for some reason, I just got hit. Like, we got to get out of here. Because I thought that thing, I was thinking it's going to land. It's going to land right here, and something's going to happen. Because like I said, I was already, because I had developed this interest just a few years earlier. I was already, I already knew about other, incidents, famous incidents, like the Allagash incident, and probably the Pascagoula incident. I'm sure I was aware of at that time. But so I was thinking the worst. I was thinking that if we don't get out of here, maybe something's going to happen. But you know, some people say maybe it had missing time, but I don't think we did. I don't think that we did, because I remember I had a watch and I did check my time not long before this happened. And then by the time we got out of there, I actually remember checking my watch because I thought of that after it was all said and done. I don't think we have any missing time. This looks like that was like 10:30 or something like that. And I felt like, okay, that seems like it's right. So I was aware of that. I was aware of these things during the second incident. But
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole missing time thing and checking the watch. My buddy Tim and we went out to. I have a Sasquatch hotspot that we like to go to, and when we were coming out, it was just him and I on Saturday. And when we were coming out, I always say to him, or right before that, I said, "Hey, bud, always keep an eye on your clock. You never know when you get into these areas where there's high strangeness or weirdness. You'd never know what's going to happen, and you have to be prepared. So always know what your time is, or at least around your time, and check it every little bit, because if all of a sudden you don't remember the last half hour or you don't remember the last 4 hours, we need to know about it, And I'm not a researcher, man. I'm an enthusiast. Okay. I don't care to film anything. I don't do anything like that, but I still want to know what's going on, and you still have to go through the steps. So it's kind of cool that you mentioned that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a very frightening ordeal. Now, I did have a third experience, and I'm not sure exactly how to even classify that. When it first happened, I didn't know what to think of it, and then it wasn't until years later when I thought, well, maybe this was aliens too, playing some sort of a trick or something. I mean, this was when I was living in Hawaii, and again, all the incidents that I had were all separated by many years. Okay, there was 1977, 1994, and then 2007, when I was on the Big Island in Hawaii, there was a third incident that happened. And we could talk about that if you want to hear about that story.
Well, we got 3 minutes. Why don't you warm us up?
Well, I was living at that time. I was by myself at the time. I had a house in the middle of a jungle, and it was in a tropical rainforest area on the Big Island near Hilo. And Hilo's a big city that's on the Big Island. I was actually working in Hilo, and this incident happened where I had a dog at the time that disappeared under extremely mysterious circumstances and then reappeared 2.5 hours later under extremely mysterious circumstances. But looking at what the way it went down was, I couldn't figure out exactly the circumstances under the disappearance and the return of the dog. Made me realize after time and after reading about Skinwalker Ranch and some of the weird things that happened to that family that was living, the Sherman family, is that what they back in the 90s? Some of the weird kind of paranormal kind of stuff that happened to them. I started thinking, well, maybe this was extraterrestrials shenanigans as well. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. But basically, the dog disappeared and then reappeared 2.5 hours later while I was, I will get it. I guess it's a little bit more than 3 minute long story. So we're going to have to wait to tell the whole thing till when we get back, I guess. But all I could say is I've come to the conclusion that maybe it did involve extraterrestrials. But other than that, if it didn't, then I don't know. I still don't have an explanation for it. Maybe there was other supernatural forces at work that I'm not aware of. But something happened that day that I still am scratching my head over, and I have no explanation for. But I had this dog. I just got it. I didn't have it long. She was part Jack Russell Terrier and part something else that I didn't know what. But she wasn't a small dog. She was a medium-sized dog and thin, very fast, golden color. Her name was Goldie, and she was really wild. Like, this dog was hard to train. Like, I just had her for like maybe a month at the time, and she was very. I was working like 10, 11 hours a day, and she'd be all pumped up when I got home, and she would just be running around like a nut for a long time, and the one Saturday morning, I went out because where I lived at, all the houses were built on stilts because it's the rains are ridiculous there, right? A lot of flooding, so all the houses were built on stilts. You could actually walk. I could walk underneath my house, because it was built on stilts. So I had to cut the grass using a weed whacker. There, you can't use a lawnmower because it's lava rock, and you just got to cut the weeds. And then, so I didn't want to leave the dog in there while I was doing this because she would get too excited. She would tear the house apart while I was outside. So I wanted to bring her out. I had other pets too, but they were all inside. They didn't act like she did. So I brought her out with me, and I hooked her up to this big long chain. I hooked the one end of the chain up to her collar, and I got the other end, and I wrapped it around one of the stilts that hold up the house, and I snapped it inside the link. And then I started cutting the grass with the weed whacker. And I got the, she was acting wild because of the sound of the weed whacker. I turned around, I saw her there, and then not even 10 seconds, not even 5 seconds, probably, I hit a couple of weeds under the house, and I turned around and she was gone, and the chain was gone too. But I thought she just got scared of the sound of the weed whacker and ran off into the bushes.
Jim Quirk, we have for another hour on Spaced Out Radio. Wait for the next hour. It's going to get good.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
That was a good part, the commercial that people wonder what's going to happen next.
Oh, we do our best. What happened to the dog? Look, Joe's like, what happened to the dog? His dog Lola is listening to this show right now. So, all right, man. I'm going to take a quick break. We got about 6 minutes, 5.5 actually. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to put you back in the green room, okay? All right. We'll go like this. That's where we want to go. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned. All right, I am back. And let's see here. Who else has come on in here? Missing anybody? Bombshell Bomber, nice to see you. And we're caught up. Let's bring Jim back in. So far, so good, my man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun telling these stories again.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it. We got about 1 minute.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, Dave. I gotta say, I'm having fun tonight.
Good. I was hoping you would.
Yeah.
We try and make it a little bit fun here and make it a little bit more unique than what other people do.
Yeah, I'm it's pretty neat to be on your show. I listened to your show before in the past, and
Thank you.
It's a very, very good show. Love your stuff. Love the guests you have on.
Well, we try hard. Tomorrow night, guest change. Jim Goodall will be in. Our previous guest, Ryan Wood, had a family tragedy, so he is out, and we'll reschedule him. Thank you, T-Bone times 2, W. Decker, and Dutch Hank for the super chats. Here we go. All right, here comes the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and we always appreciate burning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let's go to the Desert Clam, who set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Daedalus. Daedalus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right. Jim Quirk is with us tonight. He's got a great podcast called Extraterrestrial Reality, and his YouTube channel is called QUIRK Zone. We highly suggest you follow both of them, because when you get a guy this good, you got to follow him. You just have to. Jim, welcome back.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
You were telling the story right before the break regarding encounters and regarding what you think's going on.
Yes. Well, I was talking about this disappearing dog trick. I don't know how. I still have no explanation for it after all this time. That happened. This was in 2007, and like I was saying, right before the break, I had the dog disappeared. I had the dog, even though I was cutting grass with a weed whacker at this house that I was living in on the Big Island in Hawaii, and in the middle of nowhere. No other houses were near me. Oh, I mean, there was one you could see at a distance and stuff, but for the most part, you're by yourself. And anyway, I turned around 1 second, the dog's there, chained up behind me, and I'm underneath the house hitting some weeds under the house with the weed whacker. And I turn around again, and the dog's just completely gone along with the chain. So I thought she must have been scared with the sound of the weed whacker and took off. And so I started looking for it, and all around, like on the perimeter of the house, was all this low to the ground jungle. You could actually see over it, but it was real dense kind of vegetation. And if the dog, I was thinking, well, she might have ran in there, but she couldn't get too far because it's so dense, right? So I'm looking at all the perimeter of around the house, trying to call her name. She's not coming. I go out, there's a dirt road that leads out to this other dirt road, and I'm out there running around for about an hour looking for her. I can't find her. And I start getting really worried. I'm thinking, well, what if she ran all the way to the highway or something, and somebody picked her up and took her to there's a kennel nearby. So at some point, it's probably an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes of not finding her. I decided, I guess I got to go to the kennel. So I actually drove to the kennel, and I went there, and they said, no, nobody brought any dogs in. So I went back, and I'm looking for the dog more. I can't find her. But basically, at least 2.5 hours went by, and this dog was just disappeared. I could not find her, and I looked in all around the house again, in the perimeter of all this dense jungle all surrounding the house. And then I finally gave up, and I sat down on the steps. And right when I sat down and gave up, all of a sudden, right across from me, the dog, I just see her standing up in an area I had just looked in 5 times. She stood up right in front of me, comes traipsing out of the bushes with the chain still attached to her. And I just figured, well, she must have broke the other end of the chain. But what was strange was that the other end of the chain, the one end was still connected to her collar. The other end of the chain was still in a loop. Like I put it around that post, the stilt of one of the stilts that held the house up. I had it wrapped around there, and it was in a loop, and it was still snapped in there. Like, I was like, wait a minute, how's that possible? I was thinking, is there a space somewhere along this post that I didn't know about? And I'm looking at it, I was like, there is no space there. It's holding the house up. How could there be? It goes into the ground, right? There's no space where it could have came out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I made a mistake and I tied it somewhere else, some other post, and there is a loop. And I'm looking at all the different possibilities, and I couldn't find it. I just couldn't understand what the hell just happened. Like, how is this possible? How did the dog like basically disappeared? And I thought she was hiding. At first, when she comes out of the bush, I thought she was hiding there the whole time. But then I couldn't understand, how was that other end of the chain still in a loop? And I could never figure it out. I remember, like, a couple of weeks went by, I would get home from work and I was still trying to say, well, maybe I did it over here or something. I would look, and there was nowhere that where this could have happened. I couldn't understand it. And at the time, it was only like a few weeks earlier where I was here. Because I wasn't in Hawaii. I was only in Hawaii for maybe about 5 or 6 months at the time. And you hear these stories over there about night marchers and things like that. Like, there's these ancient Hawaiians that are marching around the island, and if you get in their way and this and that. And I was thinking, well, maybe they had some. I started thinking about ghosts for a while, because I couldn't figure this out. I could not figure it out. And so, years go by. And then, of course, I started learning about Skinwalker Ranch, and you hear some of the strange things that happened to that family that was living there back in the 1990s before Robert Bigelow purchased it from them. Like for instance, the post digger, I think it was Terry, the husband, was out, brought a big post digger outside, a big heavy piece of equipment, to dig holes, and he turns around for like 2 minutes and turns back around, and the thing's gone. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, he finds it in like 20 feet up in a tree. And that's when I started making wait a minute. What if that's what happened back with, maybe the dog was abducted by aliens, and I didn't even, in broad day. It was a bright sunny day out in broad daylight. And, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I have no other, I all these years later, I still have no explanation for it. I mean, it could have been aliens or NHI or something, because I have no explanation for it. And I know there's no way. How could you tie something? The dog wouldn't be able to do that. The dog wouldn't be able to re-loop that, put that chain back into a loop at the end. So I know that's not possible. So how did it happen? I have no idea. So and there's no other people there. There's nobody around. Nobody's near me. So I have no explanation after all this time. Maybe it was aliens. That's why I say maybe. I have no explanation for it.
That is just creepy, my man.
Yeah,
absolutely creepy. Yeah. Only if that dog could talk.
Only if the dog could have talked, it would have been, what happened to you?
Exactly. He'd have been telling you, man, did I go for a ride?
Yeah. Could have been, and here's the thing. I mean, we know, there's how many cases out there where the craft are invisible, or the creatures themselves can make themselves invisible. They have the ability to cloak themselves. I mean, it's all throughout the literature. I mean, so many different stories. There was some guy, I remember just talking recently, there was that guy in England, he's walking with his dog somewhere, and all of a sudden this craft just materializes right in the bushes, next to him, and then takes off. I mean, but it was invisible. There was nothing there, and all of a sudden there's something there. So I think that these creatures, obviously, they have the technology to make their craft invisible, make themselves invisible. I mean, I think that's I've been talking a lot, on my podcast over the last several months about the Las Vegas alien case from last year. Right. And it seems that those beings had the ability to cloak themselves. And that's what the evidence points to, that they could make themselves somewhat invisible or totally invisible. The craft that came down apparently was invisible after it hit the ground. And the beings themselves have the ability to camouflage themselves in ways that I don't think the human beings are able to do. So I think it's possible that that's what could have happened back in Hawaii now, like looking back, because I have no other explanation for it. And I know I'm not crazy. I know that it happened, and I know that I don't know what else I could say about it.
Well, I can tell you this as somebody who has had an encounter that included dogs that disappeared. I can tell you it's a little freaky when it happens. Mine happened in 2014, 5 days after I saw a UFO on the ground. And this was on my friend's property in British Columbia. And 5 days later, I met this ET contactee named Samantha Mowat. And if you've never had her on your show, trust me when I say this, it is a gem. Samantha Mowat, Mowat. And tell her that I recommended you because she's one of my best friends. But I'd known this young lady for 25 minutes, and she asked me if I want to go back in the forest behind the house. And I said, sure. And the 4 dogs that were there ran into the forest before us. And we walked into the forest, and we started walking around, and we get about 50 feet in. And she's like, or 50 yards in, pardon me. And she's like, looking around. She's like, where'd the dogs go? All 4 dogs were gone, man. So, like stupid white people in a horror movie, we keep going. And we go about another 50, 60 yards into the forest. Sam jumps up on a tree stump. And because she's very petite and tiny, she jumps up on this tree stump and she's looking around and she's got that weird look on her face again. And she goes, okay, Dave, I don't want you to be scared, but I want you to look that way, pointing north. Tell me what you see. And that's where about 200 feet in front of us, I was staring at 2:00 in the afternoon, all the kids in school. I'm staring in the middle of the forest at a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll tell that story on your show sometime. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds like a really good one to talk about.
But when we walked back, when the event was over and we walked back, all 4 dogs came out from the property to join us. It was like those ETs that were in the forest that day had told the dogs to back off. It was weird, man. Totally weird. Speaking of Vegas, let's get into the Vegas encounter. Take our audience back a little bit of history here. What happened there?
Well, it was the late night, April 30th, 2023, early morning hours of May 1st, 2023, when it all went down. This is when the event happened. There was a meteor that people thought it was a meteor come falling down from the sky. It was captured on multiple security cameras as well as police body cam footage. This object came down, and so at some point after it came down, or sometime after midnight, a 911 call was made by members of the Kenmore family. Angel Kenmore, along with his father, Bobby Kenmore, had contacted 911 to report 8 to 10 foot tall alien creatures. They said they were not human. Whatever these things were, they were not human. They were in their backyard. Now the story goes that when Angel and his younger brother Joshua, they're both teenagers, they're out in the backyard working on their father's truck, and whatever this thing was, all of a sudden they hear this noise. Angel said he looked over and he said there was this bluish green object with blue green lights coming down, and when it hit the ground, there was like some red sparks that went flying, but then it was where it landed, whatever this was, it became all blurry and you couldn't see anything anymore. It was like whatever this craft was, it became invisible when it hit the ground. Like you saw some lighted thing coming down to the ground, but then when it hit, it was blurry. And when you looked in other parts of the yard, it wasn't blurry, just in the area where that thing came down. And then right when it hit the ground, he heard what he described as, it sounded like thousands of different footsteps going off in multiple different directions all throughout they have this big property with all this heavy equipment in their backyard and vehicles in Las Vegas. And so then the next thing he knows, they're face to face with these creatures, 8 to 10 feet tall, and they had big eyes, big heads. He could hear them breathing, see them breathing, and they're somewhat blurry. They were somewhat blurry looking, but you could see them. and they're running around the yard, and he felt paralyzed when he looked at this thing in the eyes. He felt paralyzed, and then he broke free of that paralysis. Apparently they got out of there, and then they got his mom and dad. The mom and dad comes out, and they all were armed. The father, Bobby, and the two sons, Angel and Joshua, were armed with pistols, and the mother was filming this section when they were going back into the backyard to investigate. And when they all three of them walked into the backyard, all of a sudden something scared them, and they all backed out at the same time. Now, when that story first came out in 2023, it happened in very early May, but the story really didn't start making big news until like late May, early June of last year. It didn't really come out until that time. It was becoming big news at the same time as David Grush had come out and start blowing the whistle. So actually Ross Coulthart was a little bit upset because he thought that story was stealing the thunder away from the David Grush story. I actually look back at it now, and I think it actually complements the David Grush story, because David Grush was talking about crash retrievals, and I don't think this was a crash. I think it was a hard. I don't know what it was. I think that what my theory is, and it doesn't make me right, I think that something went wrong with their craft for whatever reason, and they needed to make an emergency landing. And that's what happened. And they got out of there before the police arrived, because that family, after they got chased out of the yard, they filmed that stuff. They actually called 911. It took about an hour for the police to arrive. By the time the police arrived, they went back in the yard. According to Angel, everything, those things were gone. There was nothing there. They couldn't see anything anymore. Those creatures were apparently gone by that point. Now this last June of last year, June of 2023, that's when I first Scott Roeder contacted me. He's a crime scene reconstruction expert based in Ohio. He has a business called The Evidence Room. This guy's a professional. He's been doing this kind of stuff for over 30 years. He's a video analysis expert. He contacted me, and he said he likes my show, and he thought that this Vegas alien stuff is really interesting, and he's going to look at the video, and then I'll bring him on the show to see if there's anything he could see in it. Because when I looked at they had a 1:41 long video, and it was filmed in portrait style, not the long style. So it was filmed the portrait style. When I looked at the video, I couldn't, the first few times, I just couldn't see anything. Now, there were some people pointing different things out, and I just wasn't seeing it. Like you're saying, you said, you have trouble seeing anything in that. And so Scott Roeder looked at that video, and then he contacted me. He got pretty excited because he's trained in trying to figure out. He's looking at stuff like this all the time. Videos were incidents involving crime and intruders and all that kind of stuff. So he knew what to look for, and he actually found something. What he found initially last June was he identified the cause, the reason why they all backed out of the yard at the same exact time. That's something you cannot fake, he said. And there's movement there. You could see something moving very briefly, very fleetingly, something moving toward them, and that's what caused them to back out of the yard. And I thought it was great. I thought, okay, this is evidence of that supports what the family's saying, what the Kenmore family is saying. This supports their assertion that there was 8 to 10 foot tall creatures in the yard, because you could see movement of something in those few frames. It was very, very fleeting, but there was something there. But it didn't really move the needle that much, right? So, and I talked about it. A lot of podcasters talked about the Vegas aliens for all that since last year. They've been bringing it up here and there, but it wasn't until earlier this year. It was actually in March. There was this YouTuber named Sherman, and he did an interview with the Kenmores and talked about it. So I did a video on that, like talking about what Sherman was, about his interview. And one of my subscribers, her name's Julia June from New York, had sent me an email saying, you should be looking at what's happening above the fence. Now, other people have pointed this out to me, but she actually sent me a still picture of this face that you can see hovering above the fence. It happens just as they're backing out of the yard. At the same time that one thing's chasing them out of the yard, this shadow looks like a shadow, but it's not a shadow, because a shadow needs a solid surface, moves over the top of the fence, and you can see it through the slats of the fence too. And for a few seconds, when you look at that, there's a few, like 5 or 6 frames, it looks like a face. It's the same kind of face as described by the Kenmore family. They actually drew, last September, they actually drew pictures during an Inside Edition segment And those pictures, the drawings that they drew, look just like that face that you see very briefly appearing above the fence. So now, not only did we have the face above the fence, but we had the thing chasing them out. So I did a video about that. Scott Roeder saw that video and he decided, okay, I'm going to take my team and we're going to break this down. We're going to look at this more closely. And they were able to determine that in the area where that head appears above the fence, 66% of the pixels had been deleted. It's almost like a transparent face that you can see very briefly that matches the description of the 8 to 10 foot tall creatures that the family described. But for some reason, something was preventing the cell phone camera from filming it. In fact, the family members apparently did not even know that the one appeared above the fence while they were filming. It wasn't until later when they reviewed the tape themselves that they noticed that one too. Or if they would have noticed it at the time, they probably would have been running a lot further back than they did. So that was interesting. So when Scott Roeder, he contacted me, it was the last Friday in March, and he went over all of this stuff. And I realized at that time, I was like, this proves it then. He also proved that there was no CGI used. The video was the raw footage. There was no CGI applied. And so he determined that that face and something with some sort of unknown power was at work here that was preventing the cell phone from properly filming it. But for whatever it was, a lag for a few brief milliseconds, it failed, and you could see the face. It's there. I mean, we've went over this video 1,000 times on my show, and there's something there. There's no doubt, right? So I as far as I was concerned, this was it. And so we actually got together. We did this big video. He did his on his channel, Crime Scene Time Machine, and I did a video on my channel where he came on the show and he went over all the evidence, explained it. He guaranteed it 100% that there were alien beings in there, and he basically forensically, scientifically proved it. And so, it did get some traction earlier this year. It was picked up by some mainstream outlets. News Nation talked about it, and also Fox Digital. There was several articles that ran on there, and but it really didn't get picked up by any other people. And I actually ended up on June 11th. I actually put together a big long letter. And I addressed it to the Pentagon. I emailed it to them with pictures, links, explaining that, hey, this is real. You guys are saying that there's no such thing as extraterrestrials / NHI in the United States. Well, guess what? Actually, there is, and here's the evidence for it. And there's no one here. No one has to this point has been able to debunk it. In fact, no debunker will even attempt it. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that was the proof. And since that time, there's multiple different people. I've been, associates that I've been working with behind the scenes, like Mr. Gray Owl. We just call him that. That's his name, Mr. Gray Owl. He's been helping me.
He's a good fan here too.
Yes, and we've been looking at this video, and there was a section in that video that I was able to identify, and I've been talking about recently a lot. And I think it's even, to me, I call this the backbreaker, because if you're going to talk about, you didn't believe the first two things, well, you can't deny this one, because it looks just like your classic gray alien. It poked after they get chased out of the yard. And if you look at that video, there's right when they open the gate and they start filming it again, and before they zoom in, there was a face that pops up in the background, and it looks just like a gray alien. It actually turns its head. You can see the big black eyes. I've been doing videos on this, talking about it on my podcast a lot recently. I actually did one a couple of weeks ago where I actually had this AI program as part of my Cyberlink Power Director video editing program. They have this AI software where you could take like footage of something and you could make an animated version of it. So I stabilized that area of that portion of the video where you can see this head moving. You can see this head, and it looks like there's using some sort of cloaking technology here, because at first the head, you could see this distorted version of it, and then it gets really distorted, and then for a few frames, it's clear. You could see a gray alien, just like on the cover of Whitley Strieber's Communion. It looks just like a gray alien with the big black eyes, and it actually turns its head. It's unmistakable. There's no other explanation other than NHI or alien, as far as I'm concerned. So I took that video, that little portion, 10 seconds, and then I I ran it through that AI program.
Let's finish up when we come back from our break here, as we got Jim Quirk for another half hour on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
I'm going to have to go look at that video again. Man.
Well, I think the AI one, I'll continue talking about that when we come back. But I think the fact that the artificial intelligence recognized the face, did facial recognize that it's a face and recreated it in a cartoon version. So I don't know how much more proof anybody needs. And plus the fact that the family, they call 911 to report aliens in their backyard. So I don't know what else we could possibly need here. And there's other portions of this story that I didn't tell yet that I forgot to bring up, but I will bring up that is also very interesting.
Yeah, just save that portion for another 5 minutes, man, and then we'll get to that. Big shout out to the mustached wonder himself, Jason Gilmet from UAP Studies Podcast. How you doing, brother? Nice to see you. Alice in Winterland, nice to have you here. Thank you. And I think we're caught up. All right. Man, this is a fun show, man. You're really entertaining to listen to, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for having me on. This is great. Well, both of us love talking about this kind of stuff. I mean,
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
We're getting there. We're gonna, in our lifetimes, we're gonna finally, I think we're at a point here. We're at an inflection point. We're finally, I think we're like, we're there. We're getting there. We're gonna get the government to finally admit it. Hopefully. We'll see.
I don't think they will. Hi, Vanessa. I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I just don't think they will.
Well, it's funny, Dave. Sometimes, some days I'll come on my show and I'll say, I think they're going to be disclosure. And then a couple of days later, I'll be, I don't think they are. They're going to, they're going to go kicking and screaming and crying right to the end.
Yeah. Tim James, if you're listening in, post a message, because I can't find one from you. Post a message at the bottom that you like turkey or something. I don't know. And I'll throw you the wrench on you. So
me.
Yeah. It's funny. Have you ever interviewed Dr. Bob McGuire? We call him Science Bob around here.
No, I have not.
Okay. You definitely want to get him on. He's former NSA, he's former CIA, brilliant guy. And he's always to me, this is it, this is the one, they can't turn back now. And then about 3 weeks before something's supposed to happen, damn it, you were right again, man. I don't know how you know this stuff, but you are so right. Like, geez, Science Bob, like, just pay attention to me once in a while. Uh-huh. There we go. Do.
Yeah, I think I'm going to contact Samantha there. She sounds like she'd be.
Oh, dude, Samantha is brilliant. I call her the best kept secret in ufology. And you know what, dude? She's never wrong. Yeah. I've been in the forest with her 3 times now. Twice there's been aliens. And once there's been aliens, but they didn't show us where they were. We just knew they were there. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, it's a tough thing. There's people out there. There's some people out there that have a tough time with this, but it's unfortunate. It's real though. I don't know what else I could tell them.
Right? Some people just don't listen. Or some people want it so badly, they blind faith it. I hate to say it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's one thing that you got to try to be. You got to try to be critical and skeptical. I am. I believe that some cases. I mean, some people, a lot of people believe in. I don't. I'm not a believer in the skinny Bob. I think that was hoaxed. I think the Trinity UFO was hoaxed. There's certain things that you gotta. You just can't believe everything. You gotta. You got to investigate and come to proper conclusions.
That's definitely right, my man. Definitely right. Get you to hold on right there. We're coming back in 20 seconds. Big thank you to T-Bone ×2, Dutch Hank, and W. Decker Area 53 for a nice round of super chats tonight. Kevin Kennedy, how are you? Nice to see you. And don't forget, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and be happy about it. Be joyous. You can wear it to more places than a garage sale or a flea market and actually be proud. Here we go, everyone. We've kicked off the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. All right. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, Jim Quirk is here talking about all things extraterrestrial and supernatural. We're talking about the case in Las Vegas last year where these gentlemen heard some noises coming from their lot, their yard, where they had a bunch of big, heavy equipment. And they got some aliens hanging out there. Jim?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They had aliens back there, and there's no doubt about it as far as I'm concerned, as far as anyone should be concerned. This is the evidence. This is the proof, actually, as the crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roeder has pointed out. This is the proof that a lot of us have been waiting for. Now, I would have to say about better than 90% of the people that have been following this on my channel, they seem to agree. There are some people that still have trouble seeing it. There have been some people who I didn't see it, and then I actually drew lines around stuff, and now they see it. So it's just a matter of getting over and over again, showing it, trying to show you why this is real and why it's irrefutable at this point. And what I've been talking about is in addition to the 2 8 to 10 foot tall beings that they saw, I think this whole backyard was actually filled with aliens, but it's hard to see them. I think they were using some sort of cloaking technology, but they're in one segment of that video, like I was talking about, it looks like what is a gray alien at the head, the eyes, it's all there. It turns its head. And I did this AI, I use this AI program that's part of my Cyberlink my Cyberlink video editing program. And it created a cartoon version. It recognized the face, and it made its own face of the alien, which if the computer's actually seeing the face too. So I think it becomes, at this point, there's no disproving this at this point. The people, this family said they saw aliens. They called 911. Cops came there, right? They were scared out of their minds. The video that shows the cops showing up, these people were obviously terrified. Something just happened. They weren't lying. You're not going to call up 911 and report something like this, a hoax, because you could end up in jail. You could end up go to jail for it, or or pay fines, heavy fines. So they're really, and the video that they took proves that they were telling the truth. So we have evidence of the aliens that Scott Roeder was talking about, the one that chased them out of the yard, the one whose head appears above the fence. And then we also have the evidence of the one that looks like a gray alien. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it must have been. It looks just like what people have described. And the AI program, that recreates it in an animated version, recognized it too. Believes that obviously recognized that there's an extraterrestrial face there for a few seconds, and it was using some sort of cloaking technology, just like the other ones. Except, when you see this, some people out there probably have, a lot of people haven't seen this. But when you're looking at that one gray alien, the one that I think that I like to call the backbreaker, because this if you didn't believe the other stuff, this one should take you across the line. At first it looks like it's distorted. You can see a distorted version of the face. Then it becomes really distorted, but then the distortion disappears for a few frames, and you could clearly see this alien face, just like a gray face. You're actually seeing a real alien, and then it becomes distorted again, and then you can't see it as well. But there's no doubt in my mind about it, and I think it serves as the proof. I sent a letter to the Pentagon in June about this. I said, hey, you guys are actually what happened was, I believe it was in May, late May, Jennifer Granholm, who's the secretary of the Department of Energy, was talking to the House Oversight Committee, talking about the Pentagon tells us they have no proof of UFOs or extraterrestrials in the United States. And that really got me blood boiling at that time, because as far as I was concerned, the proof is already there. We already know now that there's something here. That prompted me to write a letter to the Pentagon saying, hey, you guys are saying there's no proof. I beg to differ. Here's your proof. There is proof. This serves as the absolute evidence that shows that there are extraterrestrials here, and it's time to stop playing this game, basically. And I did talk about that during one of the shows about the letter that I sent to the Pentagon. They haven't responded, of course, and I don't think that they ever will. But the point is, no, I just wanted to make it clear to them that there's people out there that know for a fact now that there's no going back, and this is untenable. And people are to continue this deceit is foolish at this point, because now there's a lot of us out there who do know that there's something here. I mean, there's people who I showed this to who were totally non-believers, and now are totally believers right now. I mean, they believe it now. I people in my family who did not believe it, and they were shell. I remember there was a Sunday, we were having a dinner, and there was a lot of people at my mom's house, and we were all there. And my brother was all excited about this. Somebody who didn't believe in this stuff before, he wanted to show everybody this. And there were people with their mouths when they saw it, they're like, "Oh my God, this is real." This is, they didn't even know what to say. And there's more stuff that actually, another interesting aspect that not a lot of people know about this is, that quote meteor, end quote, that people saw was actually seen in 4 different states. And it was seen in California. It was seen in Nevada, of course. It was seen in Utah, and it was also seen from someone in Arizona, at least one person. And that person actually had filed a report to the American Meteor Society the night that this happened, the next day, May 1st or somewhere around that point, May 1st, May 2nd, long before, weeks before this became big story about aliens in a backyard. This person said that she saw this object coming down, and then after it came down, 2 UFOs were flying around like as if they were looking for something. I hypothesized that something went wrong with their craft, and these UFOs that someone from Arizona saw looking north to Nevada possibly came in and got them out, got the aliens that were stranded there, along with whatever craft they were flying around in, out of there. That's just a theory, doesn't make me right, but I mean, it does make sense. And another thing with regard to the meteor, as Scott Roeder had pointed out, the meteor, there was footage taken from a self-driving car, and under long wave it took the video under long wave infrared. The object that came down from the sky did not have a heat signature. A meteor would have a heat signature. This did not. And then in a home security camera footage that was taken from a different point of view with sound, actually captured an oscillating mechanical sound as the object came down. I argue that even if it did have a heat signature or no heat signature, sound or no sound, right? It's still, as far the rest of the evidence, as far as anyone should be concerned, shows that could not have been a meteor, right? There had to be some sort of a craft, because it contained beings, because we see them in the video. But the strange thing is, there was no heat signature in that one video. It made a sound in that other video. So that's, as far as anyone should be concerned, this is the proof that a lot of people in the UFO community have been waiting for, and it's here. and it's there for anyone to look at. And if you weren't a believer before and you were to go through all this evidence and look at the video evidence, I think you would be convinced. Everyone should be convinced it's over. That's we were talking about this too. It's over. I mean, the debate should be over. Like we've always been debating, waiting to get this evidence, this end all evidence. Like some people are saying that the Peruvian mummies. I mean, a lot of they're still being investigated. It looks very positive. Those creatures that they found, those not mummies, those preserved corpses, some of them are apparently not human, but they are humanoid, and we don't know where they came from. And there still needs to be more investigation with that. But as far as anyone should be concerned, we have evidence now that shows that corroborates all these other stories. If you're seeing an actual gray alien in that 1 minute, think about this, that video is only 1 minute and 41 seconds long. And there's all these anomalies in there, including a gray alien and 8 to 10 foot tall aliens. I mean, and these people called the police because they said there were aliens in the yard. What else do you need? You have the evidence. It's right there. It's a done deal. It's over. There should be no more debate anymore because of this story, because of this Vegas case.
I think part of the hard part for people to accept this is the camera is way behind its cell phone footage, which is always tough. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here, so please don't think I'm shooting on you here or anything. But it is cell phone footage, number one, which there is always a sense of pixelation on those phones. And trust me, I trust Scott Roeder. I do, in his analysis on that. And it made, to me, when Rob G, our After Hours host, told me that Scott Roeder was involved, that's where it got a little bit more real for me. But the other part, too, is the people who had this encounter, they really haven't come out and spoken up. They did a couple of interviews with local news and everything like that, but they really haven't, jump to the limelight to extend their 5 minutes of fame. Never mind their 15 minutes of fame trying to take advantage of it. Their 5 minutes of fame. Have you ever talked to them or had any conversations with them, even off the record, about what happened?
No, I haven't. There have been attempts. Scott Roeder has tried. We really wanted to do it, but apparently they think it's demonic now. They don't even want to talk about it. They're afraid to talk about it. Apparently, they did have some interviews. There was a interview that this big popular YouTuber named Sherman did with them. They did meet with Inside Edition. The whole family did, and that was last September. They did do these interviews. Then they seem like some people think, but here's the thing. The fact that they're not out there seeking publicity, that tells me, had they been some sort of a hoax or something like that, then they, you would think it would be the opposite, that they would be out there looking for, look at what but that's not what's happening here. They don't want it. They don't like the spotlight. The only one who seemed like he would want to talk a little bit was Angel. The other ones didn't really seem like they wanted to talk too much. And it's really hard to get them they're scared of it. I mean, there was some apparent poltergeist activity that occurred after, in the months following this, and I thought was very strange. They were saying there was Bible pages turning by themselves. A crucifix was moving through the house by itself. They actually contacted a priest to come and bless the house. And so now a lot of people think that, maybe it's demonic. And now I don't think that. I actually came up with a theory. I don't know if here's one theory. For one thing, it seems like sometimes when people have encounters with aliens, there's some kind of weird paranormal things that happen after the fact for some reason. But in this case, I would have to think that these creatures made a mistake. They knew they made a mistake. They knew that they were captured on film, on video. So what do you do to make people think that that's not what it is? What do? You actually, okay, here's what we'll do. This doesn't make me right, but this is a theory I have. What if these creatures decide, okay, we screwed up here. We need to rectify this. So what do? They go to the house. They know what's good. They know they can read your mind, right? How many different people have talked about aliens, the ability to read your mind. They could communicate telepathically. It's all throughout the literature. So what if they know what scares these people? These people are highly religious. They're highly religious Christian people. And so what do? They make Bible pages in the Bible turn. They make crucifixes float in the air with the idea that hopefully they'll tell the public. Okay, they're going to tell the public now. The hope is they'll go on camera and say, yeah, there's this stuff going on with the crucifixes floating in the air and the Bible pages turning by themselves, with the idea that they'll tell this to the public, and then half the people will think, who are very religious, will think, oh, it must be demonic, while the other half will say, oh, they must be lying. So it could be some sort of an alien psyop. I don't know, but I believe every word that these people have been saying. I don't think they've been lying at all, because they have the evidence on the video that proves it. And I think if you were to look at some of the stuff that I've been talking about tonight, I think if you saw that gray alien, for instance, the one that I think, as far as anyone should be concerned, just, it's over. I mean, that's a gray alien you're seeing. There's no other explanation for it. It couldn't have been some sort of pixelation or camera artifact or mistake, and it was the video was already determined not to have any special effects or CGI in it. That we're looking at an actual gray alien in this video, and those people said there were aliens in their backyard. And they were talking about them there while they're filming this. They're actually talking about them. You hear the father saying, talking about Polon. That's in Spanish and in some other languages that means bald or hairless. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing a bald, hairless creature. Other creatures, looks like they're using some shadowy things in addition to that don't make any. None of it makes any sense, other than there must have been really something there. And so all of it together, the totality of the evidence shows that there's this proves. This proves that we are not alone, that there's some sort of presence here, a non-human intelligence, and this corroborates a lot of other stories that we've heard throughout the years. I think, actually the video that Scott and when we got together on April 2nd, when we first talked about this new evidence, we called it Vindication Day, because as far as we were concerned, this vindicates everybody. Everybody that's been studying this for decades, everyone who's been fighting for disclosure, this vindicates them. This puts causes the debunkers to go hiding out in a corner somewhere, because they can't. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can say. There's nothing they can do to debunk this. If they do, if they try, they're going to be made fools out of, because anything that they say there's going to be an answer to it, and they know it. I've actually challenged Mick West. I challenged him. I said, come on and try to disprove this. Tell me why it's not. Tell me why these aren't really aliens here. Tell us. Come on. I want them to. I dare them to. Let's see what they say. So let's see what they could do. I don't think they can.
We got 7 minutes left with Jim Quirk tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Jim, there's so much more we could talk about. We could probably go another 2-3 hours absolutely easily tonight. I am very curious in regards to this Vegas incident. Why do you think it went? I always wonder when these aliens go into these strange places. Why would an alien go into like a construction parking lot, where they had all this heavy equipment? Like, why wouldn't they go to a park or a casino? I mean, you're in Vegas. My God, go to Sapphires. They're getting UFOs above Sapphires Gentlemen's Club. I mean, go there. Not some construction parking lot.
I don't think that they were planning on going there. I think that they had to make an emergency landing, and that space just happened to be there. That was like a wide open backyard. It's like I think they were probably aiming. I mean, again, this is all speculation. We don't know why they landed. It looked like it wasn't meant to happen. I think it was a mistake. Something might have went wrong. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were shot at by our military. I mean, Nellis Air Force Base is there in Nevada. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what caused it to go down. I don't know. I don't think that this was a planned thing. I don't think. Well, why would they do that? Why would aliens? It seems like they want to be secretive for the most part, right? Every now and then they'll make displays, but when they're up to their, they don't show themselves ever like this ever. They don't want to be filmed. I mean, here's another interesting one little tidbit here. This actually, there's a similar case. And this was something that the late Bruce Maccabee, the optical physicist, who just recently passed away,
yes,
sadly. And if you remember, there was the missing 411, the Hunted.
Yes.
And at the last segment, there was a portion where Bruce Maccabee's wife, Jan, was talking about when she was out bow hunting in 2010 in Ohio. She was up in a tree, and all of a sudden she notices some sort of a thing looks like a giant piece of saran wrap moving from one tree to another, like something out of Predator, like some sort of a creature using cloaking technology. So she takes a picture of this thing moving from one tree to the other one, and when she, for some reason, she gets back home and she forgets all about it. Now, Bruce Maccabee, someone who's been investigating UFOs and aliens his whole life, but for some reason, Jan it just escaped her mind. Like she forgot about telling about this picture. But then I guess it was their grandson or something was at a band practice in a fields, sporting field nearby, and they all saw a UFO around the same time, and that caused her to remember, oh yeah, I saw this thing in the tree and I took a picture of it with my cell phone. So she shows Bruce the picture, and that picture was just a blurry mess. But what the strange thing about it was that it had an impossible resolution that the camera didn't offer. It had 3 different resolutions. And I did the math on it after Scott Roeder presented his stuff. And the picture was 66% less than the resolution was 66% less than the highest resolution the camera offered. And that to me was correlated with the area of where that head appears in the Vegas video, where the pixels were deleted by 66%. So is there a correlation? Possibly. Actually, after this, when Scott had presented his stuff, I actually sent an email and some information to Bruce Maccabee, but then it was only like a couple weeks later where I found out he died. I don't know if he ever got to see it or not, but I was hoping to get his opinion at the time about this. And Scott Roeder, so he has an offer out asking anyone who has the kind of credentials he has to, if they're able to debunk it, well, they're welcome to try, but he doesn't think they're going to be able to.
I don't know if that one will be moving much further. It seems like with that video, so we got about 3 minutes to go here for the break at the top of the hour. That video has just seemed to have fallen off the face of the earth, lack of better term, and pun intended. It seems like it's almost a forgotten video already.
The Vegas one?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, there are a lot of channels out there that are still talking about it, including on my own. I bring it up a lot, and there's been a lot of people who were not believers at first. I've been told there's been a lot of my subscribers who said, Jim, I didn't see it before, but now I see it. I think as time goes on and keep talking about it and it keeps showing the evidence. And like I said, you said you're going to check it out yourself. I think you need to see that the video of what I'm talking about, that little gray that I believe is a gray alien that shows up. I don't see what else could it have possibly have been. I mean, that's what it is. You could see this head and it turns. It actually, you can see this gray alien with the big black wraparound black eyes turning its head. There's no other explanation other than NHI as far as I'm concerned. And then plus that, you have the other aspects to it too. You have the face above the fence, you have the thing that was chasing him out of the yard, and there's some other anomalous stuff that's going on there in that yard and beyond that stuff that's not as clear, and you can't really say one thing or the other. But I think there is something there, and I think that this video should be something that the entire UFO community should be talking about more. Everyone in the UFO community say, hey, I don't care, you've been debunking this all your life, all these debunkers and naysayers. Hey, here's the proof. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's where we should be at. The UFO community should be getting behind us. I understand, a lot of this stuff, it seems like there's sensational kind of stories that come out every now and then, and I know where people are coming from with this. They seem too good to believe. But with this story here, when you do the research and you look at the totality of the evidence, there is no doubt this provides, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of other people, this is the absolute evidence that the UFO community has been waiting for, and it's undeniable. I mean, I don't think that it's impossible to debunk it. It's impossible. I mean, like I said, the evidence, it was already deemed that there was no special effects added to it after the fact. And there's just too much going on there. I mean, 1:40. If you were to take your cell phone camera, go out in your backyard in a barely lit backyard and film for 1:41 seconds, you're not going to find any sort of anomalies like you are in this case, where people actually said there were alien beings in it. It just, well, what's the chances? What's the chances that the face above the fence that appeared just happened to that materializes for a few milliseconds? What's the chance that it just happens to take on the same form and same appearance as what these people, what the witnesses were describing? One in a Googleplex? I mean, it's impossible.
Maybe. Jim, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, my man. We have had so much fun for you and with you. We got to do this again.
Yes, that's be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we definitely have to do this again because you're very knowledgeable, you're very eloquent, and the fact that you're a journalist, I love that. Jim Quirk, everybody, coming up next, Swamp Dweller. Then Jacques Armon is here for the Cryptid Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thanks a lot for having me on, Dave.
All right, my man. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. We'll do it again.
Okay, sir.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Jim Quirk, everybody. I loved him. I loved him. Good dude. Very good dude. I'll be right back here, guys. And we'll talk to you just around the corner here. So go like that. Be right back. All right. We got about a minute to go. T-Bone with a hat trick tonight. Thank you, T-Bone. Along with W. Decker, Area 53, and Dutch Hank for the great super chats. Thank you very much for the love and support. And Juliana, thank you for being here. And Guardian Jackpot, thanks for coming on in. And we're going to get going here in just 45 seconds. A great night of radio. Great night of radio. Reminder to all of you that the store is always open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. We like our stuff around here. Jacques Harmon is almost ready to come on. We got to get through Swamp Dweller first. Here we go. All right, here comes hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Glam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Dietist, pardon me. Dietist is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. The events I describe are accurate. I will carry them with me for the rest of my life. These incidents occurred around midsummer in 2013 or 2014 in a small town in rural New Hampshire. My friend was present for both occurrences and witnessed the same things I did. The first event took place on a warm summer night. My friend and I lived in the same town, about 2 miles away. At the time, I had my license, and he did not. So I would drive to his house to hang out and play video games, or pick him up and drive back to my place to hang out. Right down the hill from my place is this old textile mill that has been closed down for a while. Pretty much as long as I've ever seen it, it's been run down. And there have always been rumors going around about how people died working in the mills years back. And sometimes at night, if you look into the windows, you can see ghostly figures still dressed in the old-time clothing. Across the street from the mill is a dirt parking lot where telephone companies park their work trucks and grab them in the morning. I had just picked up my friend and drove back to my house. As we were driving by that dirt parking lot, we happened to notice something. The telephone company trucks were big, and you could see underneath them, on the other side of one of the trucks, I saw a pair of legs and feet, as if someone were standing there motionless. The legs were very pale and stood out in the darkness. There were no shoes, just bare feet. It looked like the legs of a child around 8 years old. As we kept driving and passed the truck, the feet and legs disappeared like they were never there. We were going fast enough that they could not have run off before we passed them if that was an actual person. I asked my friend if he had just seen that, thinking I might have been crazy. "You mean the white legs and the feet?" he asked. To this day, I still hope it was our imagination playing tricks on us. But sometimes I wonder if a child may have died working in the mill many years ago when child labor was legal. This last event happened to me and my friend. It was late at night, and I was driving home after the movies. Let me remind you that I live in a very rural, woodsy town. We were on this stretch of road close to this place where we did see the ghost legs originally, with woods on either side, and we were not driving very fast as the speed limit for that road is only 20 miles per hour because it is very windy. Just remembering this next part sends chills down my spine as I write this. This thing flies over the road, just above the tree line as we drive. It flew next to a street light, lighting the creature well. At first, I thought it was some type of bird, but as more of it appeared by the light of the street, I realized this thing was much too large to be any bird of any type. The creature we saw had the body roughly the shape of the size of a large wolf, but with short fur. It had bat-like wings big enough to support its weight and size. Unlike a bird, the creature had front and back legs and a tail. Luckily, I didn't see it long enough to get a good description of its head or face, and I'm glad I didn't, because I was already completely paralyzed with fear. Later, my friend claimed it had red eyes. My friend and I did not say a single word the whole time this happened. The rest of the way to the house, we said nothing. When we finally pulled into his driveway, I shut off the car, and we both just silently started freaking out. I was hoping I was going crazy, and to this day, I would think I was, but someone saw the exact creature I did. We went inside and told his brother, who thought we were absolutely crazy. After that, we said nothing to anyone for a long time because who would believe us? To this day, I don't know what kind of creature we saw that night. Just thinking about it, going to the woods in that town now scares me. If anyone has any idea what it might have been, or has any strange creature stories around New England, I would love to hear about it in the comments.
All right. We say thank you to Swamp Dweller for another spooky story, because that's what he does around here. If you want more, head on over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Become one of his 300,000 plus subscribers. Let's get to the cryptid report.
Oh, hello, Jackie.
I love that.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You know, just loving the monster talk tonight. Love my alien talks. I always love getting into like personal stories like that. They make them so much more fun. They really
It's
do.
so funny to me that you guys were talking about that because that was actually something that I was researching earlier today. And I was like, oh, yeah, that happened like, wasn't it like summer of 23?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was just reading about it today about how they did like a whole investigation about it. And they're saying that they were actually still there. They think they were still there and cloaked themselves. And oh my gosh, I was like fascinated by that.
Oh, I want to believe that story so bad, but there's just something about it that it, you know, even after listening to Jim's incredible details of it. And if
Yeah.
you missed that portion of the show, make sure you check out hour 2 of this show on our free podcast.
Yeah. I got to go back and watch it myself.
There is just something about it that I don't believe.
Really?
And I want to, you know, because I know the impossible is always possible with
Mhm.
these any type of strange phenomena creature, you know, but this one just I don't know.
I'm surprised actually because so many people saw something coming down in the sky, like
I
literally around the
know.
same time, like right before these people called 911.
I agree with you. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying Sweet Robbie G is wrong because I know he's a big believer. Tried to break down the video to
Yeah.
me, you know, fluently. I don't know whether it's my eyes or the video or my TV screen. I just I don't know.
Well, I'm a huge believer in cloaking, so I everyone who knows me knows that I believe that Bigfoot and aliens are interdimensional, very connected. So I'm a huge believer in the cloaking. So that's a big possibility in my book
Well,
for
the door
sure.
is open. Even though I may not believe it fully, I could tell you right now the door is still open for me. I haven't closed that door.
That's good.
I really haven't. And like I said, I want to believe this one. But the one thing, and I mentioned this to Jim, I'll get your opinion on this.
Okay.
You ever notice that a lot of these encounters happen in strange areas where they shouldn't? You
Yeah,
know,
I do.
like
I actually do. And it's funny because I don't hear a lot of people mentioning now, maybe you guys did. I didn't watch, I wasn't on earlier, but I don't hear a lot of people mentioning the fact of how close this was to Area 51, which I thought was pretty interesting, and then you hear the information about how they think that they landed because they broke down and they're trying to fix the actual UFO. I mean, how do they even know that? Like, who's telling them that? That's what I thought was so bizarre. Like, that's the one part about it I think is so interesting. But yeah, just like some random person's backyard. Like, I mean, I don't know, but you never know. You never know. But it is interesting that it happened in Las Vegas, of all places. But I did now a while back, it's probably been a while. I did hear that people like, I guess it was like Utah and like Nevada, Arizona, like multiple states that saw the lights or something coming down before it actually happened. So there were a lot of people that saw it
oh, I
before it
get that.
happened.
I get that. I'm still not sure though. Still
I
not
have a
sure.
theory though.
I want to hear it.
I think that they were coming, and if in fact they did break down, like people are trying to say that the spaceship broke or something, that maybe they actually had members of their family or clan or whatever you want to call it of the alien family. Maybe in fact they were at Area 51 and they came to take them or they came to get them. But I have heard interesting stories about how the government actually made some kind of arrangement with these aliens that they were allowed to come here and take so many people, and they were allowed to keep some of the aliens. So it almost makes me wonder if that's really the plan. Are they in fact coming here because of that? Or is it something else? Like, is it just a coincidence that they're that close? But it is a little odd.
It is odd. It's very odd. But nonetheless, cryptid report tonight. There's always something going on in the weird and strange. What do you got for us tonight, Jack?
Well, I actually just heard today there were two hunters. They went out bow hunting just a few days ago. I believe it was over the weekend. I don't know if they were actually hunting or practicing, but they were filming, and I believe they were down in the south. And one of them had the camera set up, and the other one was trying to set up to shoot. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of their eye, one of them noticed what they thought was a bear. So they tried to back off a bit. They were like, okay, there's a bear, let's back off. And as they were filming, one of them realized, wait, hold on, that's not a bear. And so that as they're standing there filming this, apparently, I don't think either one of them believe in anything cryptid at all. They've been hunting their whole lives, have never seen anything out there except like a bear or regular normal animals. And so one guy says, hey, hold on a minute. What is that? The other one realizes what it is and grabs the camera. And instead of taking off like most people do, they start running towards it, realizing, like, oh my God, what in fact are we seeing here? And so obviously you can tell for people like us who are very much into Bigfoot, like that's exactly what we're looking at. But one guy, you can tell either has no knowledge of what Bigfoot is or just doesn't believe because the entire time he keeps saying over and over, what is that? What did we just see? Like over and over and over, this guy keeps saying, and the other guy it's like he just doesn't want to say anything. He doesn't even want to put it out there, like what it was. And I just found that really interesting that these guys are like, hey, let's run towards it. And usually you see these people like taking off but they caught actual footage of it, like not only staring at them, but staring right at the camera. But then they run towards it and then find it again and catch it on camera again. And it's so interesting to me that, here they are, people that are constantly out in the woods, out bow hunting, and the fact that one seems like, he's not even sure what he's looking at. He almost acts like he doesn't even realize what it is. And the other guy just kind of keeps looking at him and saying, like, yeah, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. But the one guy obviously knows it's a Bigfoot. They're looking at a Bigfoot and it's running away. And then the one that says, hey, I don't know what that was, but the way this thing ran off is like 3 or 4 times faster than I can run, and I'm a really fast runner. So I just thought that was so funny that, for people who normally go out hunting, this guy seems like he has zero knowledge of like what an actual Bigfoot is. Like, I don't know that many people who are hunters who don't have knowledge of Bigfoot. I thought that was so funny. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting little story. And it just kind of popped up out of nowhere tonight when I was like searching for more stories. And I just found that so interesting.
It's amazing how many hunters especially,
Hmm.
have no clue what they stumble upon when it comes to a Bigfoot.
It's true. It's so
You know,
true.
I remember my former brother-in-law telling me a hunting story. We were talking about Bigfoot. This way before I'd ever seen one. And I remember him talking. I said, "Have you ever had anything like strange or anything, seen any Bigfoot tracks or anything?"
Hmm.
And he's like, "No," but he was hunting way up north in BC when he was with him and his 3 buddies. And he said there was the one time where, here they are, they're walking along this deer trail and they hear something odd following them through the trees. And when they stopped, it stopped. And when they
Hmm.
went, it went. And it was kind of huffing and puffing and giving little growls kind of thing. And and they didn't know what it was. And they couldn't see it, but they knew it was close, but not close enough to see. And they said they got the heebie-jeebies out of that because, look, if you have any experience in the wilderness, you learn very quickly to adapt to your surroundings,
Yeah.
not only nature, but the animals that nature is hiding, especially predatory animals that you
Hmm.
don't know uh, that could be following you. It could be a bear, it could be a grizzly bear, it could be a giant moose, it could be a mountain lion or something big, maybe a pack of wolves. But you
Hmm.
have to learn the signs. But most hunters
Yeah,
don't know the signs of Bigfoot, Jackie.
that's true. That is very true. But the funny thing is to me is that, you would think like at some point in modern day world, you would at least hear about a Bigfoot. You would at least know what it looks like on a video or a picture. You know what I mean? But the way he acted was almost like he had no clue. I mean, he was literally like, "What is that? What is that?" Like what like over and over. And you're like, "Dude, how can you not know what that is?" Like this is 2024. Like you at some point have either heard of a Bigfoot or seen a picture or a sticker or something, you know? But yeah, it's kind of mind blowing. But yeah, I mean, some people, I guess, just do not believe whatsoever. So I think that's where their mindset stays.
Absolutely. And me, where I live in a community of outdoors people, hunters, fishermen, loggers, miners, it's amazing how this conversation does come up very quietly,
Hmm.
but it does come up, and for many of them, they don't understand, but more so, they don't want to understand
Hmm.
because they're out in that, you take a logging truck driver or somebody along those lines, or people having to walk the pipelines to make sure that the pipes are all safe and up to standard. Okay, those people are in the wilderness every day. They don't want to think about what could be there
Yeah.
because that is their work environment. They want to be able to feel safe in an environment that they have no control over. So it does get a little bit, antsy, and they don't really want to talk about it because they don't want to put any sort of fear in their minds, Jack.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually kind of funny because my family owns multiple KOAs in California, Arizona, like near, really, famous like camping sites and stuff, like places that people really want to go. So I grew up camping, and it's kind of funny because where I grew up and around here, all of California, almost no matter where you go up in the mountains specifically, they will have, those signs that they'll always put up like, hey, be cautious of bears. This is what can happen. These are the kind of animals we have here. And, but here we have signs everywhere that are warning people of possible Bigfoot sightings as well. And a lot of people think that's really interesting, and then they'll, like, really stop and ask, like, "Okay, are you being serious?" And they're like, "Yeah, there's Bigfoot sightings out here." And for, I guess, the people who don't believe, they're like, "What? Like, why are you saying that?" And they're like, "Well, in fact, people do have sightings that they report here." So, they have to post that, and that's all over the place here.
Totally get it. Totally get it. You've been in the forest enough to
Mhm,
know what to look for. When you go out in the forest looking for these, what are
mhm.
you looking for? What are the signs?
Well, when I go out, I'm always looking for signs of like, well, first of all, the first thing I usually look for is a path big enough for something large, like a trail or something that, they would use close to water. I'm always going to find some kind of water source because that's always going to be something that they'll be close to, they'll live near, or they'll travel up to. You definitely want to look for things like tree structures, specifically signs of like trees bent over that are usually pointed always towards water, at least the ones I've seen. I see patterns of the same things. um you're definitely going to find signs that you're used to. And I have been around areas where you'll see where they'll make nests with trees, and they'll form like these little areas. Sometimes they'll have a nesting area where you can see someone has laid in them. Sometimes it's an eating area. They'll use them for, basically, that's like their dinner table. You'll find bones in there.
Hold on
But
right
there's
there. Hold that thought, okay? Because we are going to
Mhm.
go to break here. It is the Cryptid Report with Jackie Harmon. We call her Jacques Armone here on Spaced Out Radio. The Cryptid Report with Jax continues right
This
after
is
this.
Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Jacques Armone.
My glasses broke, so I'm a little blind tonight. So I'm trying to see you.
We will get through it, I promise you. Look at Dirty
Ah.
Phil. Shows up late after having tomato bisque for dinner.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, with a nice garlic bread to dip in.
yummy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of funny, Dave, because I quite like tomato soup with garlic bread.
How can you not? You know what? I'm not a tomato soup fan, but you know what I do like it is I like it to dip grilled cheese sandwiches in.
I'm not allowed to have any of that. I'm on a very, very strict diet. So
No, don't diet, try it.
yeah, I am allowed to have air. And that's about it.
Oh no.
It's delicious.
Baba 200, welcome to SOR chat. Look at this. First comment ever. Love the energy of this broadcast. Thank you for not calling it a podcast. Thank you for calling it a broadcast. That actually means a lot. It does. And it does make sense.
That's because we're broadcasting.
We are broadcasting to the world, man. To the world.
Hi, Mom.
And I'm lucky enough to be on here with you.
Oh.
I love you all.
It's only because you have nice hair, Jackie. That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I actually I lost my curling iron, so that's why my hair's all straight all the time now.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
By the way, speaking of straight hair, we do have to show Kira some more love for her birthday tonight.
Oh my God, that's right. Happy birthday, Kira.
Yep.
I said happy birthday this morning to her. It has been such a long day. I swear I thought that was yesterday.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We love you.
Her loving husband, Mark, took her out for tomato bisque and garlic bread, you know. But knowing Kira's portion, she only had like half a slice of garlic bread and maybe like a dipping bowl full of tomato bisque.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, but that's what you get when you're a model at 39, like
right.
her.
Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
is she only 39?
She looks 39. 39 and
she looks amazing.
You've seen her. She is damn beautiful.
Are you kidding me? She's gorgeous.
Yeah. She's the type of lady who's so beautiful that men and women have crushes on her.
She has better hair than I do, Dave.
Oh, Kira's got better hair than me, man.
All of us.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
Yes.
Stunning.
And if you ever met her husband, Mark, and I hope you get a chance to, because Mark is just one of the classiest dudes you could ever meet.
Aww.
He really is. And I think they've been together like since high school or shortly after high
It's
school.
12,000 years, Dave.
Yeah, about 12,000 years.
That's so sweet. I love those kind of relationships. Those are precious.
Yeah. And yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
I love Mark. Mark and Kira are just amazing.
Oh, that's sweet. Unfortunately, I think I've been through about 12,000 relationships. So, you know, all good.
I know. We got just over a minute here. Dirty Filth, where were you hiding?
I was doing some important reconnaissance missions earlier today. It's top secret stuff, Dave.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
The blob is in the house. She's relaxing.
You know what I just noticed on the picture in the background that Sweet Robbie G made, this yellowish picture. If you look, the alien has a nipple. And yet most people will say that aliens don't have nipples when they see them. We're doing fake news here. We're doing fake news with the alien nipple picture here. Mm-hmm.
I had a nip slip pic like that one time. I did a Christmas holiday. I dressed up like an elf and I was laying across my friend's bed, and apparently my shirt scooted down
Uh-oh.
further than I
Uh-oh.
posted that on social media.
Oh my. I got a funny story about that coming up.
Did
Not
not
in this,
know.
but something else. Here we go, everybody. Actually, we got like
Dave's
7
nipple.
dirty filth. Always got to throw in a Dave's nipple somewhere. Here we go.
Mm.
All right, here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Yeah, our planet, Earth. The world around, the world around. Remember that from the 90s? All you young chicks and chickens out there. Yep, I get you. I get you. Hey, if you've missed portions of this show and you're actually wondering, where do we hide our archives? They're on YouTube at youtube.com/spaced out radio and any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Jackie Harmon is here. It's the Cryptid Report, and there's a lot of weird, strange things happening around. That's why Jackie comes in here once a week to break down all of those. And let's just be honest, we love her around here. Jackie,
Aw,
welcome back.
you guys are sweet.
We try.
Well, thank you. Well, let's talk about this family. Okay, so here in California, in Pasadena, there is actually a family that was claiming that their home was haunted by a goat man. And so they kept reaching out, trying to get people to come and help them. And multiple, I guess, groups had turned them down, thinking that this family was insane. And so they couldn't find help. And so they actually had somebody finally go. There was a psychic and a group that finally decided to go out and talk to this family and check out what they had going on. Well, they get there and they're talking to everyone and they're explaining how everyone's basically being terrorized by the so-called goat man who lives in this house, and he's attacking the children. There were quite a few people who lived in this home. It was like I think a, you know, three-part family that was living there. It was like the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and a bunch of kids, grandkids. And so they did the investigation. And of course, they talked to them and they go through every single room. They even went up in the attic. And I guess they did like a, ghost box session where they actually had some really weird, strange things coming through. They actually had some very, weird names of people that they actually knew came through. And they claim that this thing is basically going room by room at night and waking them up, but, scaring them to death. And come to find out, like, apparently there was some very strange things going on with the family themselves that they didn't actually disclose to begin with, which was apparently some of them were into witchcraft. And they didn't find this out until a little bit later. Well, lo and behold, the family ends up actually finding out that one of the people who claimed that this was the goat man living in the house, um so I guess he just took off, left the house, and he wouldn't come back. He said, I'm not going back, I'm not staying there. And weird things started happening to the family. Well, one of the daughters, I think it was like the not the grandmother, the mother, but the daughter below her, ended up stabbing her boyfriend in the house. And she claims that this goat man is telling them to do bad things. So she actually ends up going to jail for this. And it's just one crazy thing after another. So the family now is just, like I said, they're literally frightened. They don't know what to do. They're being terrorized by this scary thing. People are trying to come in now to help them because they realize like there are certain things that are happening. And so another group comes in, they try to help them out, and they realize they find like salt all over the house and by the doorway, and they're asking them questions about like what's going on, what's happening, and you can tell the kids are frightened. And so they end up leaving. The family ends up leaving the house because they just can't take it anymore. I guess it was like about maybe a month later, I heard that in the story that they had the I think it was the original uncle who left, went back and said that something told him to burn the house down.
Oh,
So he
nice.
did. He ended up burning the house. And the entire time, every single one of these people in the family were claiming that this thing was telling them to do bad things. Like literally every single person in this family was saying, and there were like probably about 12 people living in this house at the time. So it was a very strange situation. But yeah, I thought that was a really bizarre story that they had this going on and claiming that it was a goat man. You don't hear about the goat man very often in the paranormal.
No, but I mean, like, where do you store a goat man in a house? Do you have a
Well,
special room or a
well,
hidden door or what?
one of them was claiming that it lived in a closet, but I think it's just, when you're frightened, when you're literally growing up and you're frightened, like that's usually the first place, that or under your bed, right? That's kind of like how we're like formed growing up watching these horror stories and horror movies about everything that's frightening comes from either the closet or the attic or under the bed. So I don't know if in fact it actually lived in the closet, but that's where it claimed it came from. But people were investigating not only closets, but the attic and all kinds of different things. And in fact, one of the investigators actually said, and I don't know how they knew this, but they found haunted items in the house in the attic itself. So I don't know if that means they just wanted them and took them, or how do you know that they're haunted? So I was really curious about that because I've never really known, like, as sensitive, I go into haunted locations. I don't know if things specifically are haunted. So how did they know that? I don't know.
I don't get it. I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
if I
either.
had a goat man living in my house, I would notice it.
Yeah, me too. I'd be like, you got to go.
Were there any sightings that we know of this thing?
Well, the uncle and the nephew were the only two that said they actually had like a straight actual like sighting of it. I think the rest of the family, I think the story kind of trickled down to them. But the children were claiming that it would wake them up at night, but that's hard to say if that's, in fact, like, is something waking them up or are they dreaming about it because they're hearing the story? And the fact that I ended up hearing that they were into witchcraft makes me kind of wonder, did they bring it there? Did they ask for this? Did they do something to cause this to happen? I don't know.
I'm still blown away that there's a goat man in the closet. Like, how you imagine, you're single and you invite somebody over, your significant other for the first time over here, and things start to get a little romantic after a couple glasses of wine, and all of a sudden you say, honey, I have to tell you something. What's that, dear? I have a goat man in my closet.
Don't mind him.
Don't mind him.
Yeah,
He
he
may
comes
all
and
of a
goes.
he may all of a sudden open up that door and go bah at the absolute wrong time, but don't worry about him. Don't worry about him.
In fact, he might.
How do
That
you
is the
respond to that? That's what I want to know. You
I
pick
mean,
up
if
your
if
shoe, You pick your jacket up off the back of the couch, you put your shoes on, and you
Yeah.
say, I'm out. I'm
I'd
out.
be like, bye. I'd be out. I'd be like,
Absolutely,
deuces.
you'd be out.
I would not. You know, it's funny. Even me, as you know, like, listen, I have paranormal stuff going on. If people who really know me, really know me well, know that I constantly have something going on around me, paranormal wise. And there's even some things I don't want to deal with. I don't want to deal with the goat man. I just don't. So, if that was happening, I'd be like, nah, no thanks. Later. I don't want that. Not interested.
Like, where does this thing roam? Does it all of a sudden, hop out of the closet and say, hey everybody, I'm just going for a stroll down the street. I got some scaring to do of
Yeah.
children playing hide and go seek in the forest. I'll be back around 10:30. Like, is that how this happens?
Well, I'm actually more curious about when they call it a goat man. Is it half man, half goat, meaning like it has like men's legs, upper goat, or is it upper body man, lower part goat? What exactly is a goat man? Does it have horns? What's going on here? Like I never actually got the details of what part is goat.
Right.
I'm kind of curious now.
Well, according to a good friend of mine, Becky Vickers out of Texas, who actually runs a ghost tour that includes the Goatman Bridge down in Texas. And
Mm,
on that tour, they've actually had one or two encounters with the Goatman. Apparently, the head is of a goat with the
okay.
horns. The torso is human-like. The
Okay.
waist is sort of human-like until you get to the feet, which are goat-like again.
Okay. Okay. So
But the
kind of like something
hands,
you'd see in like a movie or a book.
like a centaur, almost.
Okay. Got it.
Except it's not running around on four legs; it's running on two.
Well, for my experience with things like that, and I have had some pretty strange, weird things come and go. Um, I have in fact actually had psychics come into my home prior, um, Reiki master, different people come in, and I've had multiple people say that we have a portal in our home. Oddly enough, they always say it's in my son's room. Every single one of them, like without fail. And and often they'll say he has a portal, and one of them even said, I think it's in his closet, but it could just be in his room. But every single time, like I never tell people what other people say, and every time it's the same thing. So it kind of made me wonder when I read it, maybe in fact these people have a portal, or maybe they opened a portal through witchcraft. I don't study witchcraft, but I don't know what you can do with witchcraft. I don't know if that's something you can do, is open a portal. But I can imagine something like a goat man coming out.
I could totally imagine a goat man coming out of the portal, and I do believe some witches can open portals. I do believe that.
I don't have that much knowledge about witches. So I just, don't really know like what they're capable of. I think one of the reasons why I don't go there is because my family's from the South and we're very much believers in the voodoo and believe in the superstitions and stuff like that. You just don't mess with that stuff. You
No,
got
I
to be
get that.
careful. Yeah.
We got 7 minutes to go here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And our good friend Jock Harmon is here for the Cryptid Report. I just want to check out one thing here before we get too involved. All right, I got something for you, Jackie.
Okay.
Hello, Jackie. I
Hello,
love that.
Dave.
All right. August 27th, 1979, in Warren, Minnesota, Marshall County Sheriff's Deputy Val Johnson, 35 years old, is on patrol driving along the county's Highway 5 when he sees bright lights hovering over nearby Highway 220. Thinking it might be a plane in distress, he turns onto the highway to investigate. Instantly, the light blasts through Johnson's patrol car windshield and hits him like a 200-pound pillow. He hears the sound of breaking glass and blacks out. Johnson awakens 39 minutes later. His teeth are fractured at the gum line. His eyes are irritated and burning. His car has shattered windshield, busted headlight, dented hood, broken hazard light, and a bent antenna. The deputy radios police dispatch for help, claiming something attacked my car. Investigators find a 100-foot skid where Johnson's car hit his brakes and conclude that it traveled another 754 feet before coming to a stop sideways, blocking the oncoming lane. It was also discovered, bizarrely, that both the clock in Johnson's patrol car and his wristwatch lost 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And we want
I
to
know
say
that story. I know that story well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
Meanwhile, Sheriff Dennis Brecky would lead the Marshall County Sheriff's Office investigation of the incident. The Air Force and the FAA were contacted and both confirmed there were no aircraft that had been in the vicinity that night. A metal engineer from Honeywell even visited the sheriff's office and performed tests on the vehicle. He would conclude that the damage to the vehicle was caused by an electrical force. No conclusive identity has ever been given for Johnson's attacker. The patrol car is currently on display at the Marshall County Historical Society in Warren, Minnesota. That is awesome.
Isn't that insane?
Awesome.
Yeah, I've heard that story many times, and it just blows my mind. Every time I hear it, I always think of his teeth.
Yeah.
His teeth were literally shattered all the way to the gums.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine?
How do you get your dental coverage to cover that? What happened to you? I took a UFO to the face, man.
Like,
who's buying that?
I'm all gums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to need some dentures after that.
Yeah. He had like no teeth left. None.
Tell me about it. I mean, just
He's
the
lucky to be alive.
Oh, completely lucky to be alive.
Mhm.
Completely lucky to be alive. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I mean, I couldn't imagine, police officers. I could never be a cop. I could never be a cop for a number of reasons, because there's a lot of people I'd probably hurt out there.
Oh yeah.
And on a law level, I'd probably take the law into my own hands a few times. But number two, seeing some of the grotesque things that you see,
yeah,
I don't have the stomach for that.
That would be hard.
So I think police officers are pretty damn brave. I really do, especially when they are out in the middle of the night in smaller communities, maybe not in the big cities, okay, but in smaller communities. These guys are patrolling by themselves. They don't have a partner for backup. And here they are having to deal with it. I've even talked to members of the RCMP in my own town who have investigated haunted cases of people saying, can you come out here? There's somebody in my house, and they get to the house and the house is clear, and I've said to them many a time, dude, this is why you have me. Call me. I'm the town weirdo. Give me a call. I'll deal with this. Right. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, they're brave. They really are. And
Mhm.
it's too bad they didn't have dash cams back then, because we would have seen what happened.
Right? Right? I have a quick little interesting, it just reminded me of what you're talking about. And here where I live, we have this area of town called Old Town, and it has the original building still to this day standing where now it stores. And it was like built, I think it was like 1890 and then up to 1901. And all the original buildings are still there. And in fact, my sister actually owns one of them. And I was thinking, like, what I should do is probably go down there one night and do a live investigation for you guys while we're on the show.
Oh, that might be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll have to, we'll have
Her shop is in the most haunted part, and we have the old original jail, and it is right next door, so I can show you guys. It's a really, really cool building.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Mhm.
that. That's why I love investigating up here too, because it really is such virgin territory for all the old housing and properties up
Yeah.
here. It's amazing. It really is. And when you find a diamond location like that, you never
Mhm.
know what's going to happen. You really don't. Jackie Harmon, it's always a pleasure to have you on Spaced
Thank
Out
you.
Radio as our intrepid cryptid reporter. Great job tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good,
Thanks for
good,
having me again. Love you guys.
good. Goodbye, Jackie.
Goodbye, Dave.
All right, Jackie Harmon, everybody, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. We done. We done. Yes, like that. We done.
And just like that.
Yep. Great job, Jackaroonie.
Thank you.
Jackaroonie, the San Francisco treat.
I know of all days for my glasses to break. I gotta find that little glasses thing from the screw fell out. I'm like,
Oh, I hate that.
I gotta hold them like this now to do anything. And I am so blind. Oh my God. So blind, it's
Yes.
sad.
Yes.
You know what? I actually saw who it was now. Someone posted earlier. They heard that I'm no longer doing element 115, and I had to post, yeah, no, I'm still doing it. So
Oh, yeah. See, that's the drama mongers. Yep.
I put on there, no, I'm still 100% doing it. So hopefully I mean, maybe it's because I was like, out for a week and
I
and
had
then
I had one person come up to me the other day asking, because Rob G was asking people to subscribe to his YouTube channel, The Social Dig, which everybody should be.
yeah.
And they were like, is Rob G leaving you and starting his own podcast? I'm like, no, he's just literally building his own channel, which I recommend him to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's important to have multiple places to post the shows too.
Absolutely. Hi,
They
Dirty
call them
Filth.
posts.
Where's Blob?
Can you hear us?
Blob is currently sleeping.
How come she hasn't come visited lately?
I'm gonna go grab her.
No, don't wake her. Absolutely
Go
not.
haul the Blob up here, and she's old, Dave. She's like 10,000 years old.
I know. Sweet Robbie G, you're not allowed to leave.
You say make me leave?
No, I'm not going to make you leave, Rob. Look at him. Make me leave. No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. Yes, Tim, we do need taco time.
Ooh, taco time.
Oh, I love taco time. I don't even know what taco time is on here, but I want taco time.
Taco time is a more high quality Taco Bell.
Oh.
Yeah.
I go to a place called Rosa's, but I do love Taco Bell. I'm not gonna lie. Love me a Taco Bell.
Dave's got to drive south next week for work for 2 days. And I can tell you right now that I will be grabbing Taco Bell on the way.
What's your favorite thing at Taco Bell?
Everything.
Oh my God. My favorite thing at Taco Bell is a bean and cheese burrito with no onions, add sour cream and extra sauce, and it tastes like an enchilada. Oh my God. I'm
My
obsessed.
order is this. I like the beef burrito supreme.
Mhm.
I'll have 2 of those, because like when I go to Taco Bell, I power eat, because I don't know when I'm going to get the opportunity to do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So I power eat.
Oh.
And so I usually go with two beef and cheese burrito supremes, and then I'll get anywhere from 2 to 4 tacos, soft shell tacos, and the fries that go along with it, that have all the cheese and everything on it.
Oh, you talking
Yeah.
about the nacho fries?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the ones where they lay them in the platter and they put all the stuff on top of it, or just the ones you dip in the cheese?
No, the one they put all the stuff
Oh, I
on
love
top.
those. Oh, I
Yeah.
love those. Those are
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, I leave there feeling like an absolute disgusting, filthy, fat bastard, but I love myself for it.
I'm not gonna lie. Taco Bell's my favorite fast food place of all time. I love it. So many people don't like it, and I love it.
Yeah,
I
well,
could eat there every day.
you either love Taco Bell or you're wrong.
That's right.
You know?
I feel the same way. I
You
heard a
know?
thing the other day on the radio here locally, and it said that Del Taco is now the #1 fast food place. And I was like, no one's ever there. I live around the corner from Del Taco, and no one is ever there.
Well, the problem is, people are griping a lot, and rightfully so. They're protesting because Taco Bell used to be the cheap place to go get some really cheap food.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the middle of the night when you're making an after-hours bar run, right? Who hasn't drunk eaten before at a fast food restaurant? It's the best food ever, right?
Yeah.
But Taco Bell has jumped their prices so high
Yeah.
that people are staying away.
It's true.
But I will say this: Taco Bell introduced me to Mountain Dew's Baja Blast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to find Baja Blast up here?
Is that the drink or is that the frozen one? Okay.
Nope, that's the drink.
I've never had one, but my mom gets them all the time. He loves them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They have
Yeah.
the Baja Blast freeze as well.
No.
Like an icy. And my kids are obsessed with them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a slushy. It's literally like a snow cone in a cup of Baja Blast.
Rob says food truck burritos are great here in Bakersfield. Home of the Condors, the Edmonton Oilers farm team. Yeah.
I think that's where, isn't that where Rob lives, Bakersfield?
Yeah, he's a Condor.
Yeah.
We're going to buy him a hockey puck.
I don't know if Rob knows this. Rob, I used to live in Visalia. I know you know where Visalia is.
I thought it was Visalia.
Visalia. People say it either way.
You're on drugs.
I grew up there.
Foyer.
Yeah.
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 Bob Marley, how are you? Our resident Buffalo soldier. Rob says he has lots of family in Visalia.
Is he still on here? Yeah, Rob. I'm a V-Town girl.
You live in Visalia?
I did. Yeah, I moved there when I was like probably early teens, like junior high. Junior high, high school, and growing up. So yeah, I lived there like, majority of my life. So.
Mm-hmm. Rob G's the kind of guy, Filth, who says Edmonton, Canada, Toronto, Canada, Montreal, Canada, Vancouver, Canada. That's the kind of guy Rob G is.
He probably also says Calgary.
Yeah, and Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Strange.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't get the lingo down.
Yeah.
American Spy.
The only place, Jackie, you'll like this one. Did you know in Canada, in Newfoundland, they have a town called Dildo?
Ah!
And every year they celebrate Dildo Days.
Oh, geez. How come I've never heard of this?
It's true.
That's funny.
I'm not even making this stuff up. It's nothing perverse about it.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Look who you're talking to.
That's right. You're funny. So we'll show you some pictures of Dildo. True story.
Town?
Yeah. It's actually beautiful, I believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where's that located exactly? Because
it's about 4,800 kilometers or miles east of where I am.
Okay. I don't know kilometers.
That's why I said miles.
Yeah.
All right. Look at little Dildo, Newfoundland right there. Look how cute that is.
Oh, it's adorable.
People don't believe me. This is product of Newfoundland website. Newfoundland
Nova Scotia
has plenty of unusual place names, but one small town's moniker raises more eyebrows than others. It's Dildo.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So how did it get its name?
Wait.
The truth is, no one really knows. The name has been in use since at least the early 1700s, and the origin has been lost, but there are lots of theories. Yeah.
Is it?
There's a
that's an island?
Yeah. Look at that. Little
That's
dildo over there.
Is it the shape of the island?
No. See the little sign in the mountains like Hollywood? They have dildo.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep. Dildo run 1 kilometer. What else?
Mrs. Phillips just woke up.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. I've never heard of that ever.
And apparently dildo means what, you say? Let's
What
find out. He
does it
suggests
mean?
the term dildo. This is ER Siri. Suggested the term dildo, as used in parts of the north of England, was a name not of the penis or phallus, but of the vagina, applied here as a descriptive to a deep, narrow bay.
That's
You
an
can't.
interesting way of describing it.
You cannot make this up.
Good old Canada.
Way to go, Newfoundland. That's why you're another extra half hour off the clock.
I just call it a Wookiee cookie and leave it at that.
Moose knuckle?
You know.
That's terrible.
Same thing.
Dirty Phil. Next, you'll drop an ear hoof.
Well, I'll tell you off air what Mrs. Filth says about some things. She's filthy like a pirate.
Mrs. Filth is a potty
Pirate
mouth
shirt on. Look.
who needs to chew on a leather shoe every now and again. And that's just for the safety of the creatures of the house.
No comment without my attorney present, Dave.
Uh-huh.
Does everybody here live in Canada except me?
Well, there's only 3 of us, and yes.
Oh. I notice there's a lot of people that follow us that live in Canada because they keep messaging me about living in Canada.
Well,
I've actually been to Canada many, many times, and I love it there.
Well, considering you live in Trudeau South, so, we're pretty much the same.
I
right?
could get in my car. I kid you not. I could be in Tijuana in a half an hour.
You know what's really cool? Jackie, how far are you from the I-5?
Oh, I would have to probably drive like maybe 40 minutes to get to the I-5 from my house.
Okay. So you turn onto the I-5 and you start heading north.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many, if you didn't have to stop for gas or sleep,
Mm-hmm.
do you know how many signals turns on your car it is from your place to my place?
7.
Exact. Oh, I've told you that. 7. So you hop on the I-5, people. This is true. So if you're coming out of Tijuana on the I-5 and you go straight north, you get to you drive straight through California, Oregon, and Washington. You hang a right on the Guide Meridian in Bellingham, Washington. You then go straight right through the Canadian border, and when you get to Highway 1, you hang another right. That's 2. You follow that to Hope, British Columbia, which is about an hour and a half away. And then you signal to get off the highway to go into Hope. But you come to a red light usually right at the top of the hill after the signal. So then you have to signal again and turn left. That's 4. You then follow Highway 97 all the way through to the 108 Mile Ranch. You hang a left into the 108 Mile Ranch. And then you hang a right in the 108 Mile Ranch. And then you hang another right in the 108 Mile Ranch. And you're at my house. 7 signals to my house from the I-5. Anywhere on the I-5. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you think of
Since
that?
I only live 7 exits away, why don't you come visit?
Because you're in Trudeau South.
Well, that's okay.
And Rob G doesn't even go watch the Bakersfield Condors play hockey. So I'm a little miffed at that, considering that's the Edmonton Oilers American Hockey League team.
Ah.
Stress time in like 3 weeks, Dave.
I know.
I went to see a hockey game, and it's been a few years here. I think it was at the Honda Center, and I loved it. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm. Dave, when are the chains required here? They're never really required, although winter tires are mandatory as of October 1st. So from October 1st until April 1st, you must have winter tires on your vehicle, or mud and snow tires. Your tires either have to say M&S or have a mountain peak on them with snowflakes.
I don't live near the snow at all.
You've never had a snow shovel in your life.
No, I actually used to live in upstate New York, so we had snow there, but I only lived there for like a year and a half, and then that was it. I was like, I can't.
Wow. Social Day, Sweet Robbie G says 100 Mile House still sends messages by carrier pigeon. Wow. Wow.
It's like Game of
It's
Thrones.
True. You gotta get a dock time for that stuff, though.
Oh. If he was here right now, I would beat him senseless with a 9-iron. Yeah.
No.
Use smoke signals here, man. Seriously, people look for smoke signals here. When somebody's having a campfire, everybody's like, "Oh, there's a campfire over there. Do we know that person? Can we drop in?"
Amateurs.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
They're throwing wet stuff on the fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, you get a good wind sometimes. Yeah.
Unless we've got a fire up on a hill somewhere and we're surrounded by mountains. I can literally walk out my back door and walk about maybe 30 feet and I'm already at the base of the mountain. So I live really super close. So we fear all of the fires that are around. Because if that one hits that mountain behind me, whew, I'm in trouble.
It's like all around us. See, somebody like Filth, he lives in the concrete jungles of Edmonton.
Yes.
He's got a pipeline full of oil behind his house, and he's got high-rise tower buildings in front of him. Guy lives in the lap over there. He's the king of the red light district. Mm-hmm.
Where are you now?
It used to be nicer here, but
I love where I live. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. But if a fire comes close, yeah. I mean, I've already had to be evacuated twice already, so it's scary.
I've only been evacuated once. And I was gone for 10 days.
Oh, wow.
11 days.
Ooh, that's a while.
Yep.
That's crazy.
But I came home to my house.
That's good.
Aaron P. is wondering, are most of the roads in Edmonton, Canada paved?
They're paved with massive amounts of potholes.
Oh, yeah. The potholes are... The more north you go, the more potholes you get.
Yes, it's weird. When I went to Vegas and I seen all the smooth roads and there was no potholes and tar marks all over, it was the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Also, everybody thought I was going to freeze to death while I was standing outside. And
I know.
my pal goes, "No, he's Canadian." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem, Canadian. He's fine."
It does get pretty stinking cold in Vegas for the people who live down here, though. especially where I live, like it's usually like maybe 75 to 80 degrees on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So,
Yeah,
know,
I think the one night there it hit like 70 degrees. It was so nice. That's my
yeah,
Still
favorite.
sweating, Dave.
Between
we have
70
weather like
and
that all
70
year round.
between 70 and 75 degrees, that's my favorite temperature. Don't need hotter than that.
Yeah.
If we're
That's
going by
that's like
Celsius,
our winter. That's our winter here.
and if we're going Celsius, that would be 17 to 25. That's
Yeah.
where Dave is most comfortable.
Oof. It's so weird how like I had to learn that whole Celsius thing and you're like how does
Mhm.
that exactly it's so weird for Americans to think about that because it's like because don't you have to add like 35 degrees or something? I forget how you do it, but it's so weird. Forgot how you
We
do
just
that.
basically go off of when it's minus 40 for Americans, it's minus 40 for Canadians. About that.
Yeah. Phil lives in a colder climate than I do. He's more north than me.
It's
I
desolate
honestly don't know how
wastelands.
you guys do it. I freeze. I don't like the cold.
I love the cold.
Yeah. The
I
cold
do.
reminds you that you're still alive.
I remember when I
It's
first moved up here, the coldest I'd ever been was like minus 15 Celsius. Okay, plus a wind chill, but you don't count that. And then my first winter here, uh, I was just freezing at minus 17. And I figured out that at minus 16 to minus 17, I was okay. But anything over minus 17, I was frozen, like teeth chattering frozen. Then the next year I bumped that up to like minus 20. At minus 20 now is like nothing. Once you're acclimated, it's nothing.
that
Now,
Yeah,
makes me ache thinking about it.
once your soul is half frozen, you're good to go.
yeah.
I camped in a -4 one time, and I was just like, "No, never again.
Yeah.
Never." I was
Minus
freezing.
minus 35 to minus 40 sucks. It really sucks. I mean,
Around here, you know what sucks for us? 60.
that's
When it
short.
gets down when it gets I'm not even joking you, when it drops down to 60, everybody around here puts on a sweatshirt or a jacket. I'm not joking. We're
I know.
all
That's why
freezing.
I laugh at Geraldine Orozco all the time when she's like in the sunshine in San Francisco and she's got like a winter parka on.
Yeah,
Oh, it was so chilly at 59 degrees today. I'm thinking
that's us.
59 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
I'm debating whether or not I'm wearing socks, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. 50s down here, no one's going out of the house. Uh-uh. We're not leaving. Too cold. Can't handle it. No way. That's a no-go for us. Mm-mm. No one's going
Mhm,
for a walk. No one's leaving the house.
mhm. But then you get the people like from like Portland north to Vancouver where they've got an umbrella for every single day of the week,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and gumboots.
I lived up in Washington for like 12 years. And I remember when it would it would go up to 60 degrees and people would be laying out in bikinis, at the parks. And I'm like, people in California would be running around in a friggin' parka right now. And people are out here laying out. It was hilarious. It's a different world.
It's a totally different world. I don't
It's just what
understand.
you're adjusted to.
I like
I
a
mean,
good. I love minus 10. Minus 10 to 15. I love minus 10 to 15.
I would probably die.
No, you
That's good
wouldn't.
snowball weather.
It's not only is it good snowball weather, but the air absolutely is so easy to breathe. Like when you take a nice deep breath in, it feels so good, like you're cleansing your entire body.
I'd freeze. I wouldn't be able to handle it. No way. Mm-mm.
Oh, it's
Don't
good.
like it.
I'm
It's
gonna go
good.
to bed.
All right, let's hold on. Let's get a big view here.
Oh
We
yeah.
have reports of goblins playing Knocky Door Ginger in Kentucky. You must cease at once.
Those cursed Kentucky goblins.
Oh, damn it.
Unbelievable.
No class.
Hmm.
It's actually illegal to ring your neighbor's doorbell and run away in most provinces and states.
It's what? It's legal or illegal?
Illegal.
These two little girls live down a couple doors down from. I think it's actually the grandkids is what I think it is. And every time they come, they run to my house and ring my doorbell and run off. And every time I can see them doing it.
Deidre over there says I
Beautiful.
wear Skechers and
Like, hello.
Birkenstocks all year long. Well, you know she's vegan. You know she look. I wear Skechers too, but if she's wearing the Birkenstocks, you know she's vegan and definitely drives a Nissan Xterra.
Terrible, Dave. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Dirty
Good
Phil.
night. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
We all wear Birkenstocks here.
Oh my
That's a
god!
thing. That's a thing here.
Once again, you live in Trudeau South.
I mean, I just go with the flow. I am a typical like
Deidre,
SoCal girl.
hold on. I got to get into a debate here. There is
Oh,
no
no.
way in hell that you eat meat and hunt if you wear Birkenstocks. Tim James, if you're still around, back me up on this because I'm calling shenanigans here.
I actually I don't eat a lot of meat, but I do eat meat when I feel like it. Not a big meat person, but I do eat it. I don't have anything against it. I don't want anything that's like made in a lab. That's for sure. But and I don't hunt for my food. I mean, I go to Costco. But you know, and I still wear Birks. We all do. Everybody
Oh.
here does.
You know
That's
the
just a
dangers of
thing.
Birkenstocks are people with ugly feet
Oh, I have really cute toes.
and people who wear socks with their sandals. Drives me nuts.
Now that I don't care for. I don't get that. That to me is a big no-no. Like, listen, if you got cute feet and you want to wear the Birks, you want to sport the Birks, wear the Birks. Birks are comfortable, but don't put socks on with the Birks. That's a
I
no-go
will
for
wear
me.
my Crocs over Birkenstocks anytime.
I have both. I've got the cloud slides. I've got the Birks. I got all of them, like Crocs, and I got the whole shebang. I got them all.
Great.
That's all I ever wear. I don't wear
now I
anything
got
else.
now we got a bunch of foot fetish people in the chat room. Bunch of perverts.
Well, I'm just saying, if anybody wants to see these feet,
Got to go to the fan party next year.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be willing to dip these toes in some apple pie if you guys actually come to the fan party.
Look at that. Dave has Crocs to hide his hobbit toes. Damn you, Deidre. You quinoa eating Birkenstock wearing vegan. Oh my goodness. How dare she?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
hurts. That one hurt. That hurt
I
more
thought
than
you had
having.
nice feet.
I have gorgeous feet, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do. You've seen my feet.
We all ran around barefoot at the hotel, so we all,
Absolutely.
I danced in my PJs.
All my toes are in proper order. I don't have a lot of toe hair. Okay.
No,
I
no
like
toe
a good
hair.
pedicure. Not gonna lie. I like a good pedicure.
Speaking of that, next time we're all going to get that done.
Jessica Jones and I went to find a place to get pedicures and
They were
tattoos.
all booked.
We couldn't find any place. We walked around the slum of downtown Reno,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
trying to find it. And all the places that were marked on the map, Dave does not have bunions. Look here, corn foot lady. Okay. Just because you're stressing out because you can't gout it out, okay,
Oh.
don't be saying that I got bunions.
I go and get my feet done every 2 weeks. My hands, my feet. I take good care of myself.
Mhm. Now, if anybody has bunions, it's Rob
Maybe not
G.
this.
Rob G has them. He's got them California mini Bigfoot feet. You know, about yay wide and about this big. He's a size 5 both ways, right? He's got like square blocks for feet.
Like a Flintstone foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big
I'm a
man with
barefoot
pretty
girl.
little-
I never wear shoes unless I absolutely have to. I'm always barefoot. I stay barefoot all winter, all summer. I mean, I don't care what the weather's like. I hate wearing socks.
I have a major sock collection, and I hate wearing socks.
You know what's funny? I have an enormous drawer full of socks, and I never wear socks. Never.
Yep.
Unless I absolutely have to.
I literally probably have about 75 pairs of socks.
That's a lot.
Maybe more. And
That's
it
a
takes up,
lot.
you know, on your bed frame where you got the drawers at the bottom of the bed.
I don't have that, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. I have both of those filled with socks.
Why so many socks?
Because I like funky, weird socks.
Oh, so these are like an actual collection. It's not just like over the years you've just collected random.
I wear
These
them.
are like a cool collection.
I got NASA socks, Hockey Night.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. I thought you meant just like
Park socks.
Well, that's cool.
Wow, never been asked this in the chat room before. S for Med apparently wants to know, Dave, do you get your butt bleached? No.
Oh my God.
No.
Lee and I were just talking about that the other day. That's a big thing down here. I think it's stupid. I'm not getting my butthole bleached. I think it's dumb. And I don't care.
Well, I mean, for the right moment, I probably would.
Nah,
like,
I
you
wouldn't.
know, but I don't really need to because don't go that way. No offense to those who do.
Even if you do, I don't get it. It's like, what is the purpose of it?
Well, I mean, you want to make sure you don't have any dingleberries hanging down, you know.
Well, wash yourself, okay?
I will say this.
That's all that's required. Take a
change
shower.
The topic, to change the topic, I will say this. I am man enough to say I use a loofah every day in the shower. I love my loofah. And it's one of those, not those little balls that you hold in your hand. I got one with a long handle on it, so I could get the back, the hard parts of my back. I'm a loofah.
Handle on it.
I never thought
on that loofah.
I never thought I would be a loofah guy, but I am totally a loofah guy.
Yeah.
Totally.
I own more bathtub loofahs, and I actually have that same one that you're talking about that you like scrub and hold it.
Yeah.
My son has it and he loves it. He's like obsessed with it.
Oh yeah. Way better than a washcloth. Way better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, washcloths,
Yeah.
I don't know. They kind of weird me out. But
yep.
But a good wash down, that's all you need. You know? Use some soap, some water, splash it about. You know?
Yep.
Get that thing clean and you're good to go.
I've shopped at Bed Bath & Beyond before. I know it goes there. I also like nice towels.
Oh, now I have some good towels. I love some good towels. Big,
Oh, yeah.
thick, big, giant. Oh, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I love a good towel.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing how expensive towels have got.
You got to get them at Costco.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
have a Costco card.
Do you have a Costco nearby?
It's like 2 hours south.
Well, it's not worth it then. But if you live near Costco and you can get stuff like that, Costco to me is almost like probably the best place I can get anything because you could literally use it for 10 years. And then if you don't want it anymore, you can take it back. Honestly, God, they will take anything back.
Yeah.
My mom and I watched a guy. Now, it was kind of absurd, to be honest, but we watched a guy drag probably a 10-year-old mattress back in the store, and they took it back. I thought that was gross. But shocked the crap out of me.
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, we've touched on dildo Newfoundland, butthole bleach. We've also touched on bunions, gout, vegans, quinoa, Birkenstocks, aliens, UFOs,
Hairy toes.
hairy toes,
Yeah.
and whatever else we hit tonight. I would call that a successful show for tonight.
Yeah. That was a good ending. A happy ending right there.
Yep. So let's call it the night.
All right. Signing
Jacques
off.
Armone. I'll call you on my phone here in a minute.
Okay.
All right. See ya, people.
Bye, guys.
Thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, Human Carl, Dutch Hank, and W Decker 53, Area 53 for the super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Jim Goodall will join us. We'll talk some Area 51. We'll talk some SR 71. We'll talk some UFOs, whatever else Uncle Jimbo wants to get into. We will see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Good night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.